morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. The podcast where this week, yes, there's some games that came out we want to talk about, and there's some very interesting news afoot in the gaming sphere. So I am happy to have my co-host with me. I am, of course, your host, Mr. K. Asante, TK Asante, TKO Asante, on all the places we find ourselves. And I am, of course, joined by Mr. Everborn Saga. Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
I am, how am I doing? That's a good question. I was up until 4 a.m. last night because me and the missus decided to go on a double date, and several mojitos and Jack Daniels later, we looked at the clock and realized, what the fuck are we doing? Oh, sorry. That's my one. Apologies. But see, that's the kind of night it was last night.
On a Saturday morning. All right.
Yes. Hopefully the people are still filing and they didn't hear that. But yes, this is Ever Hangover Saga.
Indeed. Understood. All right. And of course, as the visual viewers can see, I am decked out in my 1Z Xbox Fair. I've been told to use it or lose it. Otherwise, this thing was going to get traded in for something else. Wifey getting a little malicious in my household, so I had to whip it out. It's what was going we're going to roll with today. But
this is why you have to put locks on your closet, sir.
Man, right. You know, hey, I ain't got to say much to you. All I got to say is sometimes the RFC doesn't get passed. It is. But
no, hold on. I have sorry, Pixel. I would never be so bold as to think I could walk into Lady Everborn's closet and say I'm throwing something out.
Well,
and I don't think you could either.
This wasn't in my closet per se. We have a shared. Okay, so now we're getting back behind the scenes. We have a shared like walk-in closet, big situation.
Yes.
And this thing does not just kind of like fold in a corner. This kind of takes up space. It's like kind of
yes.
Like, it's kind
we have a shared closet as well, and it is like border patrol.
Yeah, true. Oh boy.
The two sides.
Yes.
So
yes.
There's no throwing. I know I can't do it. That is the rule in the Everborn house. What is good for me is good for me.
Not for me. Yeah. You know how that goes.
And ladies and gentlemen, on the topic of what is it, the living with spouses podcast? Nah. But if we were gonna have sex,
we should.
I know a man who's on this panel who would be very, very instrumental in said podcast. This man joins us when we need the hammer. This man joins us when we need Halo lore. Hell, this man joins us when we just need a great community member to join us. Today, we have some AI chat. So who do we think what are the learned among us who can lend some interesting takes to this conversation? It's the one and only, the hammer himself, Mr. Pixel Big G. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hammer, I am hammer. They put me in the mix. What's up?
I love that.
that is a call out for us. For us older cats.
That's a great beards, baby. That's great beards call out right there.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, good to be here, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Luckily, I don't have to share. I don't share any closet with my wife, and if I did, she wouldn't touch my stuff. So, but I did play myself to try to call her out on a pair of shoes the other day, and it was didn't go well.
I hear your statues aren't safe, but we're gonna leave that one for another conversation.
Yeah. My Juggernaut's not safe, but other than that,
what's going on?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Oh man, we are happy to have you here. Today is just one of those chill days. We have a lot of games that are out we want to talk about, and of course some interesting things afoot in the gaming sphere as far as the AI stuff going on. Like, we saw dribs and drabs of this, and we're going to talk about this, we're going to get into it, but we saw dribs and drabs of this in the early days, but now it's like they full court pressing. They put it out on Front Street, and it looks kind of interesting. So I want to get y'all thoughts on it, some theory crafting as to where we're heading next. But before we get there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen in our chat. I see y'all out there doing it way big already. What's going on, J Mac? What's going on, Soil Tech? What's going on, MJ Dark? All the great people. Ooh, I see the one and only Adidas 20 in the chat already with a $20 super chat. What's going on, sir? He says, salute, gentlemen and chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here. I see Roshan Eppinger in here. Stilo, great member of the community. Stilo, always in our Discord. Shout out to all the Discord members. We see y'all in here as well.
I see Game Logic in the chat.
Oh,
that's what's up. Get him in here.
I see Game Logic. Yeah, great. The great Game Logic. He's here. What's going on, Game Logic? He says finally made it in an episode. What's going on, brother? We miss you on this show. One of these days we need to have you back. It's been too long, bro. It's good to see you here. MJ Dark, $5 super chat. He's here and he says, I heard the Care Bears fights are better than God of War and Avowed fights.
I understand.
Those bare necessities. I know, right? Those bare necessities. Those some bear.
Oh, the bear.
Praise God, Chima.
Jesus. All right.
And Mario is bigger than Tonic. Of course, he always has to put his ridiculous slander in there. But we appreciate you, Mr. MJ Dark. What's going on, sir? Shout out to you, good sir. And of course, our last great guest to join us this week, not to be outdone, the one who you never see him coming. You can't call him out. You can't ask for him to show up because you don't know where he is. He asks you not to reach for him, but from once in a while, he'll accept our invite and he'll be here and he'll give us his very interesting takes. Let's see if he had his Wheaties this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Lucius Augustus. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. I am barely awake.
Oh.
I was playing video games until like 4:30 in the morning.
I was about to ask you, were you the one that went on the double date with Mr. Everborn Saga and Mrs. Everborn Saga? You sound like you were up till 4 too.
I didn't have anywhere near as much fun as they did, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, is this hate talk towards Avowed, sir? Because I think that's what you were playing, no?
Oh yeah, I was playing a lot of Avowed. I'm 70 hours in.
Jesus Christ.
Nice. Yeah, the no lifers are in this room. This is what it is.
Like we got rookie numbers, bro. What's up?
We're gonna talk about this today. We're gonna talk a whole bunch of things. So I'm happy to be here. Oh,
I do have a question. One of the things we did last night before we hit up the restaurant and the bar was we went to see
I'm about to say
Captain America.
PG-13, sir. Oh, okay.
I know. Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah.
Has anyone or everyone on the panel seen this yet?
Have not seen
I'm going to see this. I'm going to see either tonight or
So,
tomorrow night. I haven't decided.
We'll do an on the reel on it next week.
Nice. Okay. Very good. Very good. I hear it's very good.
Unless you come to the Discord, where we'll probably talk about it later.
Hey, there you go. What's going on? 108 Dragons TV was good, man. Good to see you.
When are we gonna get Lemon back in here?
We got to get him back on the show too. It's been a minute. We got to get him back on the show. Oh, and because no slander gets unchecked in our Discord and in our chat, the great Erodimus says I don't see him because of his PCMR hate. I see you, brother. You and your PCMR hate. I see it all, sir. I see it. I see you. What's going on? Anyway, so we're gonna do this real good today, but you know what? We're gonna start this as we always do, ladies and gentlemen. And since our guests, we got all these guests here, we'll do it by the order of entrance into our show. Mr. Pixelbit G, sir, you are our guest. You are first at the table. What games are keeping you busy this week?
It's all about Avowed this week, sir. I mean,
okay. It's the game du jour. All right.
It is the game of the week. Okay. Yes.
So we will talk a lot about Avowed. I suspect I will be talking about Avowed for sure. I suspect Mr. Everborn Saga will be talking about Avowed. I know Lucius will be talking about Avowed. I will put Avowed footage on the screen, but what I will be doing is I'll be cherry picking Avowed footage that I find on the internet. There will be no spoilers. I will ask that our panel members also do their best not to do any that heavy spoilers. But if you've been playing Avowed, I'm sure you know that a lot of it is the journey rather than its destination. It's very much almost Skyrim in its way. It's all about your experience rather than the experience. So, with that in mind, Pixel, please, how's your experience been now?
My experience is that it's not like Skyrim at all.
Okay, speak on it. Speak on it. Yes.
Game.
Okay.
So it is. So they are much tighter on you getting from point A to point B and following the story along. They don't. While they give you a lot of distractions, the concept of the game isn't to keep you in this world forever. Right. I actually played some Starfield this morning, to remind me of the difference, right? Where it's that universe kind of just wants you to sit in the universe and do a bunch of other nonsense that isn't related to the game. Not nonsense. Like, I love the game, I have like 900 hours. But this game is more focused, right? It's smaller, it's more focused. So you kind of you're kind of always moving forward, even if you're going on side missions. So so far, man, I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I played it. I just got to the second island now. I think I'm like level 7 or 8. And I'm playing like a more.
I think I'm right where you are too.
Yeah, I'm playing like a battle mage build at this point. But
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yep.
It's definitely a game. I'm probably the first game I beat this year at this point. So yeah, loving it.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Well, since we are in the Avowed block, because we're all probably going to be talking about it. How about you, Lucius? Talk to me about Avowed, man.
I've been playing a lot of this game.
He's the lore master now.
The game is pretty damn good. Yeah, just like what Pixel said, I think that comparison is the thief of joy. Play games, enjoy the games that you're playing. I'm not saying that you can't be like, oh, I'd want this game to be like this, or I'd much rather if it was like this. That's totally understandable. But some of the capping that I've seen recently about
and by the way, because you're bringing this up real quick, let me put a quick pin and just say I have a topic that I want to discuss later with you guys, because Avowed has been such a hot topic. Just so you guys are aware, I want to discuss, and we talked about this with Infinite Umbra yesterday in the DMs, which I thought was a very fruitful discussion. So I want to bring it on the show here. I want to discuss what fundamentally is an RPG in today's world.
Sure.
But yes.
But
continue.
Here's my two biggest problems with people nowadays is, one, they always think to themselves, hey, this game has done something incredible. This game is now the standard. That's not what standard means. That's not what it means at all. Just because a game has hit a new echelon, has hit a new peak, does not mean every single game has to be that game now. Because in a world where you're doing that, making games becomes unsustainable, because adding every single feature inside of a game is not something that you can do, because you don't have the subject matter experts necessary to be able to make that happen. You can't get experts in everything. You have to pick and choose. But anyway, like we'll move past that. And the second thing that I have an issue with people is that they love to hate on Bethesda games when Bethesda games come out. They love to see all the problems that Bethesda games does, but they never care about all the systems, all the intricate connecting weaves of how the game works, how it interacts with each other. They never give a shit about that. The only time that they seem to care about Bethesda games and all the intricacies and all the systems and everything that they have inside of them is when they are comparing them to another game.
I don't know what you're talking about, Lucius. I think Avowed needs FMV cutscenes where you don't actually play, and I think there needs to be a companion who's very annoying and tells you how to solve all the puzzles. and I think it should be over the shoulder strictly, and you shouldn't be able to jump.
So before we get too much into the glazing of Avowed, because I know we all have a lot of great aspects to Avowed that we want to talk about, right? Let us delve a little deeper into some of the criticisms that we've seen.
Wait.
I want you to go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to talk about the games we're playing, because Avowed's going to be a long topic this week. So
okay.
Let me just give you
want to divert. Let's divert. Yeah, let's divert. Okay.
This week, I'm playing Avowed. I'm maybe 6 or 8 hours.
We'll get back to Avowed. Continue. Yes.
Yeah. But I am also playing. Okay, this is funny. Remember Sonic Superstars? I famously lost a bet about that game where I had to change my name for a week on the
Oh,
timeline
sir.
to Sonic.
I remember Sonic Superstar, sir. I remember Sonic Superstar.
Now, because I lost that bet, I think in hindsight I was a little too harsh on the game.
You was
calling it just okay.
You were salty, yes.
Right. And I initially played it on the Xbox on the 4K TV, but there was recently a Sega sale where and there's a lot of stuff on sale, right? Aaron says Sonic Superstars was cool. The co-op was trash though. I don't maybe it was, but I've never played the co-op. But the point that I'm getting at, it's only $17 right now on Steam, and so I already owned it on Xbox, but I said $17 is worth the double dip. You can also get Shadow Generations right now for like $35, and if you want to pre-purchase Shinobi, it's like $5 off. But anyway, there's a Sega sale. When
are they sending you checks, bro? When are they sending you checks? You're worse than you're worse than Infinite Unreal Umbra. Like, what are we doing?
Playing Sonic Superstars on a handheld. I don't know what it is about playing that game on a handheld. When I tell you I was taken back to my days on the bus with the Game Gear, like, I don't know what it is. And the graphics did not impress me on the 4K screen, but on the handheld, it's a sight to behold. So I just feel like this thing was probably made specifically with the Switch in mind. And that's not the way I played it, but playing this thing on handheld is a very good experience.
I'm gonna just let Mr. Logic's astute observation just sit real quick here.
I'm just saying, $17 is worth checking it out. If you have a Steam Deck, if you have any of the handheld devices, check it out. I'm telling you, you're gonna get all the nostalgia vibes. They did good work here, and I did not give them credit for it at the time. So that is one thing.
And we always fall right into this thing, right? We just fall right into.
If nothing else, my man is 1,000% consistent.
On code.
You gotta respect that. He's on code. When it comes to Sega, always. I love you, bro. I love you.
So then there's another indie game that I tried. It's called Somber Echoes.
Okay, I think I've heard that.
Yeah,
talk about it.
I think it's like $5 off. So it's normally $30. You can get it for $25, or it's $25. You can get it for $20. The production value is very high. Like in terms of like the effects on screen and the voice acting, the whole thing is voice acted. There's like a narrator that's explaining what you do, but it's a Metroidvania. The trailer gives it Metroid, like OG Metroid vibes, but in playing it itself, I'm not really vibing with the character animations, and the combat just doesn't feel as good. And there's a reason for that. Like, this looks good, but in playing it, it doesn't feel as well. But part of the reason for that is the other game that I'm playing right now, which is Blasphemous 2, because as you know, I just spent 32 hours playing the first Blasphemous. And so playing this at the same time as Blasphemous shows a lot of holes in this, so the production value doesn't really save it for me. I don't know if I'd recommend it for $20. If you can get it for like below 10, and not to like diminish anybody's work, but if you can get it for below that. By the way, I paid like $4 for Blasphemous 2, right? So I'm comparing the $4 I spent for this to the $20 I spent on the other one, and I maybe that's why I'm judging it harshly. I just don't think Somber Echoes is a $20 game, but Blasphemous is absolutely a $5 game. I'd pay $20.
Blasphemous is a $30 game. It's a $50 game. Like what are we doing?
No, I'm saying you can get it for $5 though. So
yeah, I know.
But my point is, I'm playing this right now. This is like anytime I'm not, because I'm not gonna play Avowed on the handheld. So anytime I can't get to the TV, I'm playing Blasphemous on the handheld, and it's a very the learning curve in the beginning, especially if you're playing it directly after the first one, is a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
I still feel like I like the first one more, but again, I'm only, I think, 6 or 7 hours into part 2 right now. So maybe as I get more powerful or whatever, and figure out the new weapons that they have, I'll feel differently. But right now, I think part 1 is the better product. But again, we'll see. Everything here does feel very tight, the combat and everything. It just felt a little bit tighter in the first one. So definitely recommend Blasphemous 2. Go to CD Keys or one of the other ones. You can get it for like $5. Yep. It'll be the best $5 you ever spend this year. Like, get a Starbucks coffee or get a game that'll last you 30 hours. This is what I'm saying. So highly recommend Blasphemous 2. And again, try, if you have a handheld, try Sonic Superstars. You're gonna get all the nostalgia.
I thought you were gonna talk about the other Sonic property.
No. So about that, the one we played was actually demo 2, because I went to download it again.
I thought so. It is the same one, isn't it?
It was like, it named the file, when it says the 1 after it. So you're like, oh, I downloaded this already. So it's actually the same game. But we played it already. I was gonna play it again, but you should check this out, Sonic Galactic. For those that didn't know, put it on the screen if you can. Google Sonic Galactic. It's a fan-made Sonic project that is probably better than a lot of the 2D Sonic stuff that they've done since Sonic Mania. It's probably going to be the best Sonic you played in 2D since Sonic Mania. It's free. There's a demo of it out right now. It's it'll take you maybe, I don't know, 2-3 hours to beat. You
never got to these levels, right? You said you never got to see these.
I did.
This is what you did see.
Yeah.
It's the other one you didn't see. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically taking it back to the Sega Saturn art style, but with really like upped animations. And like the same way they brought this Sonic Mania team in house, I hope Sega brings these guys in to flesh this thing out, because more people really need to experience this. They've given the characters new powers. The level design is really thoughtful. They've got the momentum right. If you are at all, maybe you've fallen out of love with Sonic because you don't have taste, right? But if you remember,
because you don't have taste,
if you remember Sonic fondly, and you remember the days when you feel like it was good, this is that.
It's the Sonic you remember, not the Sonic you get.
But this is really what Sonic 4 should have been.
He can't confirm that one because that would slow down the checks. Never mind.
You gotta ignore that slander right there, man. Gotta ignore that.
Absolutely. Not today,
Didn't happen.
Not today.
Yeah, you didn't even say nothing, but he's concerned.
So but this is a demo. You have to Google it to get it. You can go to sonicgalactic.com. You can get a download right there. What is Paris talking about? And you know what? I'm not gonna do it. That's bait. To quote Mad Max, that's bait. But yes,
welcome, Paris.
Google Sonic Galactic. Get this right now. It's totally free and absolutely worth your time.
I co-sign. It's absolutely great. On a handheld, like you can put it to the lowest. Like this thing can be played for hours, and you're getting like, it is very good. Like not just good for a Sonic game. It is genuinely great. Co-sign for sure. So what else you playing?
That's enough Sonic glazing. We can if anyone else
now?
They want to
check it in the mail. All right, keep going.
Listen, I gotta earn a living, man.
I feel you. All right, well, okay. So before we go back down the path of Avowed, because we are all going to be down that path of Avowed, let me talk about a game that I have been playing. And of course, this is a game that I've been playing like off and on, as I do among all the other crazy games I play. I always like to have a game that's like really like a AAA game, the game that everybody's talking about, you want to be a part of the conversation, and something that's interesting that's taking your time like it does everywhere else. But then of course there's that one thing that you sip finely, like a fine wine for some time, and these tend to be indie games for me, and this game specifically has been a game that I've been playing for a few months now. It is on Game Pass, but some months ago they did send me a code for it, so shout out to them for doing so. I've actually been playing it all over the place. I've been playing it for some time, and the game I'm talking about is Lonely Mountains SnowRiders. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this game before. Have you heard of Lonely Mountains SnowRiders? Okay. So this is from the team that made Lonely Mountains Downhill. They made that the snow bike game, and they made this game. It is tranquil, it is peaceful, it is awesome. And of course, you don't have to take my word for it. The great Sika Mechanico, co-founder of Xbox Era, is here to tell you that he co-signs how awesome that game is. Welcome, sir. Appreciate you being here. This game is epic. It's awesome. It's so zen. Like, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm doing something in the office, something else, whatever, and I got this I'm playing this while I got a podcast in the background. The music is tranquil. You will die a lot. You will fail a lot, like a lot. But every time you fail, it's one of those games where you fail because you just didn't do that movement correctly. The next time you'll get it right. Boom, you press the X button, you're right back at it. It has that excellent replay, like continue to replay again. And of course, those of us who are a sticklers for perfection, you'll be, another run. Hours later, you're still on another run, right? And you'll just quickly be back at it. I really, really, really love this game. I'm pretty sure it's been on Game Pass for a while now. I've been playing it off and on for a while. In between my Indiana Jones, in between my Avowed, in between all the other interesting games that I've been playing, like, I can't stop playing this game because it's just, I'm not trying to get no achievements. I'm not trying to beat anybody. There is no real story to it. It's just, I got my snow bike, my skis on. I wish there was some snowboarding. It might be. I haven't really checked, but I got the skis on. The controls are very, very tight. It reminds me of the good old days of SSX. Not necessarily the tricks. There are some tricks to be done in here too, right? But it's more about just that traversal, that tranquil traversal, and just like, it's just you and the board, you and the tricks, you and the slope. Can you make it after like the 18th run? You're still at it because you're so close. You can do it. It's awesome. I love this game. I have been playing this game religiously. Again, I was provided a code, but even before that, I was playing it on Game Pass. It's on Game Pass right now. If you have Game Pass, this should be in your rotation. So yes, Lonely Mountains SnowRiders. Y'all should be playing this game. It is freaking awesome. I love it.
They apparently also have a bike game as well.
Yes.
Lonely Mountains Downhill as well.
Lonely Mountains Downhill. I was playing that way back in the day as well. Yes. These are the games that I keep Game Pass for. I think this game is like perfection. It's so good. It's just so good. What were you gonna say, Everborn?
No. I just want to shout out our amazing chat for these 2D platformer call outs. We got Aaron saying having elite taste is knowing Rayman is an undefeated as a platformer.
No doubt.
Karate Laundromat. Shantae is also a good platformer. If you know. Monster Boy. I remember they did the remake recently for Dragon's Trap, and then they did another one after that. It's like, if you these are quality call outs here. So
yes, sir.
Chat, obviously,
Gamer Logic calling out one of my favorite platformers. This is what actually reminds me of when I play SnowRiders. It reminds me of Ollie World. I love that. The people who made the soundtrack to that game, like, they need to start their own club, because I'll be there every night. Music was amazing. This was a skateboarding game, like, all so epic in its execution, also very tranquil, and so Ollie World 1 and 2, great call outs. Like I love those games too. Yeah. So it's just my style of game. That tranquil, ain't got to shoot somebody. You know what I mean? You're just trying to get down a hill. You know what I mean? Maybe do some tricks. The very peaceful, very great gameplay aesthetics. It's just awesome. It's awesome. So again, shout out to the developer team. Shout out to them for providing me the code. But even if they hadn't, I'd be talking about this thing. Game is great. If you're like me and you need a palate cleanser, keep this one in the rotation. It's awesome. So I've been playing that. On the panel, any gentlemen, anyone interested in this? Are you guys palate cleanser gamers as well, like me, or is it like I know Everborn? You're just like I have to know life a game, or I can't finish it. Anybody else like
do me?
it's
still about deck builders for me. That the
okay.
The secondary game that I play is None Shall Intrude, which is like a dragon. It's like a dragon based card game. It's pretty good. It's on Steam. It's pretty cheap, but it's like strategy as you build out your deck. Then you have like these enemy stages that you have to go through, as well as boss fights, and then it's limited to I think 16 moves for the entirety of a run. But like it has a really nice ramp up for like when you build power for the game. So this has been like my side crack right here.
I like the art style. Real cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then since I've been playing this, Steam is now recommending me nothing but deck builders, which I'm fine with because I'll buy them all. But if you ever played like Monster Train, which was a deck builder that came out like
Monster Train,
years ago,
a couple years ago. Yeah. It was on Game Almost AAA looking. The graphics were great, right? Yeah. I remember
really
that.
Nice cartoon side action game. Three levels kind of action game. Really dope. This is kind of in that same vein. And then you have like this crazy dude who's like this general, and they're designed to kill you. And then there's on top of it, there's additional like modifiers that you can add as you build, as you win matches. So now that I'm like level 20, then you open up all the modifiers, and then you get like even harder game. It's really nice. It's really good. It's a nice little travel game. So if you're remotely into card builder, the deck builder games, this is definitely one to try out.
Very nice. I appreciate it. Now, Lucius, sir, I know you were talking about Avowed. Has anything else besides Avowed crossed your path, or are we heading straight into Avowed talk now?
I've been playing Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
Every now and then, just to kind of keep up with what's happening with the season. They just introduced the Thing and the Human Torch. I got to play the Human Torch last night. He was very fun. His kit is actually very interesting, as he's a flying type hero who his primary attack is kind of like a shotgun, and it obviously has some distance modifiers when it comes to how much damage you're doing, because it's kind of like a shotgun. And yeah, the game is still fun. Unfortunately, we have the publishers who
we'll talk about. That's the story we're going to talk about. We're going to get to it.
Wilding out, and this is at least part of the reason why I say that you introducing AI tools that make the game for you isn't necessarily going to fix the problem in gaming, when a large release such as Marvel Rivals, that has made so much money and continues to make so much money and continues to be one of the most played games on Steam and pretty much on every platform that it's on, one of the fewest games that has been able to break through the veil, and yet even those people aren't safe.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to get there. But you know what? This
before
game
we get
still
there,
seems to stand the test of time. It's seeming to have pierced that veil of live service black hole game. It may stand that test of time. You think so, Lucius? I know.
We'll see. I think the
latest news notwithstanding,
I think the 6-month mark is always important, right? I think these, if your live service can survive and have a significant amount of people for 6 months, then I think that you're here for the long run. But I find that like a lot of the times these publishers end up making some sort of mistake that destroys their momentum, and they're not able to live as long as they would like to. Now, this is me assuming that this recent move might be one of those things, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not as detrimental of a mistake, and they continue to do well. They obviously have the Marvel IP, so that they have that going for them in comparison to anything else. And they've obviously created a pretty good, feedback loop when it comes to the way that the game plays. So we'll see. I do like the game. I do like playing with friends. So we'll see how far it goes.
Everborn, you were going to say? I thought you were.
Oh, no. I was just going to say in regards to the team and what happened to them, which we'll get into. I was going to ask Lucius, who thinks that this wasn't the plan the entire time?
Oh, sir. And you know what? Screw that. This is our show. We can do it any way we want. Let's talk about it. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking about the idea that this game, Marvel Rivals, super successful as it is. Everyone's loving it. Even those of us who are not necessarily black hole game lovers or live service game lovers are very much tempted by it, myself included. And now we're hearing, among its success, we are also hearing that the publishers of the Marvel Rivals IP have decided to fire its Seattle-based developers and continue its sustained team, the seasonal support in its native its native. Is it Japan or China? I think it's China. NetEase.
China.
Right? Yeah, it's native China, which obviously
China
sent.
Okay. I was thinking it. Somebody said it. Okay.
There will be none of that. None of that. No. Anyway.
Can I say that 45/47 has ruined the word China for me?
Ruined many words, man.
With
ruined fake news. Ruined so many things. Anyway. So, needless to say, the reason that was ultimately given once this thing became a huge firestorm in the gaming parlance, the reason this was given by the publisher was the cheaper cost of living in their native China, where they can keep the game sustained. It was a business reason, which to Everborn Saga's
the
question
CEO
originally,
of that company makes $200 million a year,
and water is wet. But to Everborn Saga's question, does that not smell like it was part of the plan all along? It was just that the Seattle-based developer was the last to know about that plan, even though the publisher had that as part of the plan all along. I'll start with you there, Pixel. What you think?
I haven't given it much thought, but it sure does sound like it, doesn't it? It's like we need to learn how you do this thing and do it well so that we can now steal it and move on with our lives, which is a very Chinese thing to do in technology. So
shout out to the great Sycamore. He's here and he wants to correct the record. He says they didn't just pull the Seattle-based one; they pulled all of the foreign ones.
All foreign studios.
Chinese.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I mean,
hey man, when money's hot, you rely on your cheap cost of living.
Except this is a move in where, hey, we're not doing as well as we need to X, Y, and Z. Let's try to pivot so that way. That's why you would make this sort of move. But when you're making hand over fist sort of money, I don't.
And then somebody
right now is necessary.
And then somebody walks in the door and goes, you're making $1 million zillion. You could be making $1 million zillion trillion dollars. You just need to get rid of all this expensive weight over here. Businessman.
Well, honestly, but it's not even close. This Seattle team can't have cost them more than like $2 million a year because it was only like 18 people.
I mean, I'll tell you honestly, the cost of living in Seattle is so cost prohibitive that where I work, I should be able to hire someone specifically in Seattle for a job that I need done in Seattle. I'm not allowed to do that because specifically the cost of living in Seattle. Just anecdotally,
Let me ask you a question though. And I don't know the answer to this, so this is not like leading the witness or whatever. Would this have anything to do with this sort of ongoing geopolitical, not just tariffs, but also negotiating current administration and blah
No,
blah
I
We're
mean,
blah.
we're all taking our balls and going home. Yeah,
Yeah, the timing of it.
I meant that.
is
I
the
meant that.
problem.
In the dodgeball sense.
Sure. But it's part of it is just the timing, right? It will be one thing. This game, how long has this game been out now? A couple of months. It came out late last year. Hasn't been out very long, right? So it's like you're literally just after your initial launch and maybe like 1 or 2 updates or something like that, right? They had some additional character drops recently. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Like, will they be able to maintain the cadence? Like, do they understand enough about it now to continue to move forward with this, or will it die out because of the decision, right? But it is kind of dubious that now you decided to move forward with getting rid of everybody now they're just hot.
Yeah, Lucius, that was the concern you brought up that I thought was very apt, right? As a person who plays this game a lot, right? The first thing that the gamers and the ones who enjoy this game would say is, "Oh man, now that level of quality is probably going to drop," right? Is that your fear?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm afraid that the gameplay, these guys were the ones who helped develop the gameplay loop, not just like, oh, we helped you. Like, no. They understood how the game would work well to be able to make it so that way all the way that the characters work, the flow of the maps, they were the ones who led all of that. So if you're the person who leads that entire initiative, and then suddenly you're not there anymore, and they think that they can use their sustain team to be able, you still need more maps, you still need more characters. They're planning on releasing a character once every month and a half. If you're planning on like releasing a character every 90 days, you need people who understand how those character dynamics will work. And if you try to cheap out on that, you're only making your game worse. So I kind of go back to what I was thinking
all the time, right? So it's not a new thing, right? We see corporations pull this move all the time. Once things are up and running and things are running smooth, but usually they wait a year, right? And make sure that things are ironed out and you've trained your replacement type of deal, and then they replace you, right? Or get rid of you unceremoniously. So yeah, it's just it's the speed of it that I find interesting, because being just released is kind of quick to make this kind of move on a game that you need to sustain forever. You hope. So we'll see.
Everborn, you were gonna say Everborn?
I'm just of two minds about this. One is the question I asked earlier: could this just be like the Seattle team catching strays from some geopolitical thing that is going on?
I personally don't think so. Only because like it was only a 10% tariff, and if you're ordering
but there's more than tariffs going on, right?
Yes, but if you're ordering your companies to start doing this sort of move this early on, it doesn't give you this sort of wiggle room to start doing those sort of moves later on. You see what I'm saying? Like it puts you in a situation where you're already in the extreme reaction of it, where you're getting private corporations, which is a significant accusation consistently with China, is that its private corporations can be manipulated and like forced to follow the rule of that China is trying to establish for them. If you immediately do that as soon as America starts messing with you, that just isn't smart. Maybe you should wait a little longer.
I mean, but to be fair, and because I do want to speak to the other side of my mind on this, to be fair, this is pretty low stakes in terms of geopolitical clapbacks, right? It's not like some game studio, right? Like, and maybe some
I understand
other
that we sometimes think that gaming is smaller than it is, but I want to remind you that gaming makes more money than movies and television.
No, I can totally understand that, but I'm saying when we're talking about things
of the cost, the people cost, right? It's not like a lot of people impacted by this change.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
And now the other half of it, the cynical side, is what if this was the plan the whole time? What if Disney would not have given a contract to NetEase by themselves to be completely developed offshore? And the only way Disney's comfortable signing this contract is if you have those Seattle devs. And as soon as you have the game come out and then it's printing money, it is see you later, alligator.
So let me tell you
services
this.
are no longer
Let
needed.
me let me speak
And
really
then
quickly.
Disney
to
doesn't
Everborn
go back
Saga's
now
point.
because they're looking at all the money they're making.
Yes. So quickly to what Everborn Saga's talking about, right? So in my industry where I work in a place with managed service providers, right? Where they undercut each other to become your next managed service provider. Basically, they'll come in and they'll say, oh, your current managed service provider, what is that? A company that you call to for everything, right? We talked about this not too long on the show when we're talking about Halo Studios switching from a contract company to managed service providers, right?
Yeah.
So in this instance, they'll come in and they'll go, oh, you're paying $5 million a year. I'm making up numbers. You're paying $5 million a year. We'll give it to you for $3 million a year, $2 million, $1 million a year. Ridiculous numbers, right? And they know that they're trying to earn your business, and in so doing, they will like cut themselves bare to a minimum level to the point where they're making no money on the deal, because they know that year 2, year 3, they're going to get rid of all of the first team that costs that much and put in, for lack of a better term, monkeys. I'm sorry, right? Because then it's cost effective for them to keep running that business, right? For them, the managed service provider that's providing you the awesome deal, it is more valuable to get you in the door, and then they'll talk about the extras later, right? That's what I think is happening. I honestly think like Everborn is really onto something, where the initial thing was, yo, this is a great deal. Do you know the hot button that Marvel is right now? We'll do whatever we can to get in the door, even if it means cutting ourselves bare when it comes to financially, right? But year 2, year 3, when the financials are coming back and Disney's happy, we'll move everything in-house, right? Which will cut our overhead drastically, and now there goes our profits. This was always part of the plan. And if it wasn't, it's not business. It's not smart business. I really think it is.
Another real world examples of things like this. Yeah. I work with several print providers for the Everborn comics or whatever, because we do the hardcovers and the paperbacks, whatever. And when this is something I learned the hard way. When you first meet a printer and they give you a quote, the quote will be great, and they'll give you the best quality paper and ink, and it'll be amazing, right? You do one order for them, smaller, as a kind of a test run, couple hundred books or whatever, and then you say, all right, these guys, their quality is good, so when you make that other order of 1,000, 1,500, whatever, that's when you get the I almost did it. You get the BS paper, you get the binding coming apart, you get like 10% of the books like having damages to the point where you can't sell them. That's what they do. They rope you in with one thing, high quality, and then switch to the not so much.
And the reason why they do that is because they know that the people that are in the decision-making processes and what we're describing here is very apples to apples to what's happening here, I think. Right. The reason why they do that, this happens this way, is because people like us who are close to it, people like us who maybe work on the project, or people like us who know those pitfalls, because we're the ones that are the troubleshooters that are in the trenches. We're never at the decision-making table when these conversations are being had. They are being had at the margins, right? And after the margins after the ink is dry, then they come down to you and they go, oh, by the way, this is what has happened. And you put your hands in the air and go, what the hell? Like, what? This is what's happening. And I'm speaking from like so close personal experience. Y'all have no idea.
Same here.
So fresh, you have no idea. This is what is happening right now. So the teams that have been sustaining this woke up one morning and they went, oh, so all those other like assistant teams that were helping us, yeah, we were training our own replacements. That's what's happening here, I suspect.
But
it is what it is.
What I guess what we'll have to see from all of this is, are the replacements trained well enough? Are they able to? Because here's the thing with a live service game, right? It is there's so much to it in terms of community engagement and creating a game economy that feels enticing, and then balancing that with the amount of new content and how often you can produce it. And a lot of these companies are very good at things like this, right? Like the NetEases or whatever's of the world, the Yohoverse or whatever. But hero shooter is very different than a sort of Genshin Impact MMO kind of thing. So
true.
And that Genshin Impact is probably an old reference at this point. You got to do like Zenless, whatever, or Withering,
Zenless Zone Zero.
Yes. But my point is, are they going to be able to keep the zeitgeist going on a game like this? Because the
what you're
IP
saying
alone will only carry you so far.
If I understand what you're saying, all the others that you described are within their genre of influence, and others come to them because of that. This is one of the first IPs or the first genres where they're kind of outside of their comfort zone. This is not usually what that region is known for as far as gameplay and gaming elements and the IP and Marvel and all that. You wonder if they'll be able to sustain.
Well, I have no idea if they'll be able to sustain, but that's the thing to watch out for to whether we're going to know if this is a good idea or not. Because again, the IP can only take you so far, and I will point you to multiverses to tell you that, right? The IP is only going to get people to look at you. You have to have a product behind
Avengers is also another example.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, true, very true. Yeah.
So people, a lot of people discount this and say, "Oh, it's because it's Marvel." It's not. Right, like that.
Yeah, Marvel's kind of lost its. Marvel's lost its the rose is off the bloom a little bit on Marvel. It's got to be more than that now at this point, I think. Yeah, you guys are right on that point. But okay, so let us take a quick pause and let me say, shout out to all the great people that are watching, over 200 on all the various platforms that we happen to be broadcasting. If you happen to be on the YouTubes, please hit that like button. Let others know that we might be watching this, what we hear. Roshan Eppinger's asking Everborn Saga, have you changed your mic, sir? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Roshan? We're always very sensitive to the audio around here, so please let us know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Hit the like button if you haven't done so. On all the various other platforms, maybe you want to. So I don't know. You're standing while you're doing. Oh, okay. See, today I'm sitting and you're standing. It is what it is. Yes. But okay,
my watch, like a gerbil, just told me it's time to stand up now. So I'm like, I guess I got to stand up.
He's got to stand up. Understood. Happens to me all the time. So before we get back into it, let me read the super chat, and I think this super chat will get us right back into where we want to be. And this is by the Great Soil Tech, and he says he's gonna start a low to mid-range battle mage build on Avowed. He's gonna call it Intel. Thoughts? Please hit the like button.
I see what he did there.
I see what he did there.
That's a nice one.
You know what? We should talk about our Avowed builds. I'll go first, and then
speak on it. Speak on your Avowed.
So yes. What I'm doing, because I'm first of all, I'm playing all third person. I didn't even I did that in the opening setting, so I didn't even start the game in first person switch. And then I tried to switch to first person once, and it felt so weird, and I got surrounded that I'm like, I'm never doing this again. So I'm all third person for this game, even though it is slightly more janky, but it is within the levels of tolerability. It's in the tolerable threshold of jankiness for the third person mode. But I have a great sword in one hand, right, which I'm doing bleed damage on. And that's a two-handed thing, and I can block with it. And then the other loadout is a grimoire for magic and a shield, which I know that I was advised against this, but I'm doing it anyway. So we'll see how this goes.
Is this the moment when I go, we're gonna do it anyway? I'm sorry.
Yes. So that's my current build, and I'm seeing where I can go with that.
Okay, that's good. I like that
because I need the fire magic from the grimoire, and I don't want to anyway. But I like the idea to be able to block and then hit you with the some magic or whatever.
So, I will let Pixel speak next because I think Pixel and mine builds are almost identical. Pixel, what is your build like?
Yeah, I'm using, I have Grimoire on one hand and the axe on the other currently.
Okay.
And then I switched to shield and wand. Right. So if they get in close, then shield and wand to back them up, and then switch back to Grimoire. Right. So a lot of fire. Plus, I put a lot of points so far in armor because I want to be able to wear heavy armor, so that way I can stand in the middle of a fight and still, get the fire damage in. And I have like I've already put a couple of points into Grimoire Mastery, right? So I want to get the secondary attacks on the Grimoires. And so far that's been pretty good. I was able to get through the first area pretty well. Once I got the second character added to my team. And now I'm in the second area and things are getting a little more dicey. So it's time to do some upgrades. But so far I've found
mushrooms coming for you.
Yeah, them shrooms, bro. They out there, right? So
they running at you. I'm like, get away from me. Oh, what is going on?
the funny thing on the second area is that like you'll pick up an item near like some plants and then they'll just pop out of nowhere on you.
Yeah, you're looking on looking on your map. Everything's peaceful. You pull out the wrong route, and now the mushrooms is coming for you. Like, damn.
Yeah, it's dope. So I haven't found anything yet to deal with poison damage, which is what they're giving.
Oh,
and that cloud damage is very nasty.
Grog.
Grog, yes.
Grog is a solution for all ailments. It does for elemental ailments and for poisons and stuff. So,
I'm talking more in terms of like an armor or skill to block that damage. You know what I'm saying? To reduce the damage. But yeah, I mean, I know how to heal it. But yeah, I want something that I don't know if the game has it, but hopefully I can find something to reduce the
Grog
damage.
Not only heals the poison damage, but it also gives you a defense against additional
temporarily
against additional elemental damage that they're throwing on top of you.
You see a little dial on the bottom right, I think left hand corner. So while it's active, any further damage is lessened. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. I will start
getting drunk in the middle of the battlefield. That's what this game is trying to tell us.
Absolutely.
Drunken master build, no doubt.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that get your build? Okay.
Actually, you guys are looking at my build, and there are differences. I thought we were very similar, but I've switched it up a little bit. I've been doing Grimoire on the left hand side, in my left hand, and a wand on the right hand side. So I've been literally doing like the Hogwarts Legacy, like full Hogwarts Legacy, right? And then the other loadout.
Mute his mic. Stop hating, bro.
What? Seriously,
I'm not a Harry Potter fan. It's just a little wand. It's very cute. It's very cute.
Some backstory for folks who weren't in the Discord, right? As far as Everborn is concerned, if you're a pansy, if you're using a wand, real wizards use a staff, right?
Thank you very much.
And they're all in white.
This is some sort of weird male like fragility thing, and where he's comparing it to some sort of phallic thing, and because the wand's smaller, he's just kind of like.
See, I didn't even make that connection.
My short curvy staff will outdo you and your staff, sir. I'm just saying.
This is what it's all about.
There's no phallic to this argument.
This is what people said during the Discord conversation when this.
Those people wasn't me.
I must have missed that part. Yeah. Glad I did.
All right. Let us take a break and get our composure real quick because I want to read this super chat. Damn, y'all need to calm down.
Wizards should have a long beard, a staff, and a roll.
Yo.
They should say, "I arrived precisely when I wanted to."
Exactly. And then they should say, "Run, you fools."
You fool of a toque.
See, this is what's wrong with Everborn. This is what's wrong with Everborn. Anything that doesn't match the particular aesthetic of Lord of the Rings when it comes to fantasy is apparently.
I've noticed this. You're understand.
I am too old.
He was the first to make it.
I also love.
He was the first to be
Tolkien,
there, so no one else can do anything ever again. It's like the same people that are dissing Avowed because Skyrim was better. Yes, Skyrim exists, homie. Go play that then.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
I said it before, and I will say it again. I am a Tolkien Negro.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I said snob, but Jesus. All right.
So
can we get a point for that? Can we get a point?
I I'm out of the age range to care about Harry Potter. It came out when it was like, this is just not for me. I don't care about no Prisoners of Azkaban
that's
or
totally
whatever
fine.
else.
But you then take
These
your
young
Harry
punks
Potter and translate it to anything and everything that does not have the same aesthetics of Tolkien. That is absurd.
It's not about Tolkien. It is just
yes,
Harry Potter hate.
I've noticed this as well. No. Your hate
any
is for
fantasy
anyone
that strays
who wants
away.
to come out there and do something different than Tolkien has to get some shade from you. I've noticed that too.
It's been a consistent thing, but we'll drop it. We'll drop it. We'll move on.
We will drop it. We will drop it. And before we drop it, because I had to get
cute wands and I'm late for class. Anyway, why don't you go sleep under some stairs?
I'm also not a Harry Potter guy, bro. But yeah, you out of pocket.
Out of pocket.
They fly on brooms. This is what witches do.
Oh my god!
Like let's
apparently warlocks do too, sir.
Game Logic blesses us with a $20 super chat and says Marvel Rivals is going nose down is likely. The market splash of the hero shooter subgenre is overrated. Ooh. Overwatch is it really. Other games, Apex, RB6S, we don't even think of them as hero shooters. Very little lasting potential. Ooh, I think there are some who will have pitchforks for you on that one.
Overwatch survives another day.
But you know what Overwatch did smartly? They did exactly what Zuckerberg and team were doing. They went, oh, you came trying to take our lunch and you have cool new ideas? Jot down the pad, write down those cool new ideas, implement all those cool new ideas. Oh, you're leaving now? Have a nice day. So yes, Overwatch now has all the third-person features, has all the really interesting things that Marvel Rivals brought to bear, and they're just sitting there going, we shall see. So I do suspect that he may be right on this one, that Overwatch will probably be the one that wins out in the deal. I gotta say though, in the battle of IPs, I'm still a Marvel zombie, so I will always at least tip my cap to Marvel Rivals for giving it a shot in this way. So there's that.
Speaking of being right, check out that Paris comment.
Paris says Avowed is a fantastic game, and I love that people who haven't spent 20 seconds playing it are the ones with the loudest voices against it. Sir, no truer words have been spoken.
Yeah, the normal
no
thing
truer words.
Online, isn't it?
No truer words. No truer words. Ooh, and a quick question by Mr. Web Dave. I saw you, Web Dave. He says, am I going to the Summit Game Fest this June? Sir, the DMs are open. Let's talk. We're going to talk about it. Everborn, sorry, we're going to have a conversation because that's a pertinent question.
Yeah,
anyway,
I got to have a conversation about that thing we talked about in the green room. Genuinely don't know what I'm going to do. I might flip a coin by the end of the show.
So, let us flip this thing as he's flipping his coin. Let us
before we move on,
please.
I want to.
No, I'm still sticking in Avowed. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's flip back to Avowed. You're next. Yeah. Go ahead. Speak.
I'm level 26.
You're probably the one who's played the most of this out of all of us.
Yes. Yeah. I started playing when the early access released. Exactly when the early access released. Don't tell my boss. And yeah, I'm going full wizard build. I'm not playing around with these games of I'm putting points into my health or no, big damage. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do big damage. That's it. And
glass cannon.
And like so a glass cannon build as usual with the mage, and it's incredibly fun. You can if you catch some enemies unaware, you can wipe out like half of them before they even get a chance to respond. So, and I want to talk about something that someone just mentioned there. AA over AAA. Now,
wait, Lucius, before you finish that, I just want to shout out Game Logic. We appreciate you in the chat. We got to get you back on soon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have a great day with the daddy-daughter.
Indeed. Shout out to you, good sir. Yes,
AA versus AAA. AAA games are fantastic and require, and this is not to say that this game doesn't have the experience of people who've done AAA in the past or whatever. But you can very obviously tell that Obsidian was not hyper focused on putting every single system inside of this game and making sure that like, okay, we motion capture every single conversation. That was not an objective. The objective was, let's make a fun game. And a lot of people have been referring to these AA games almost as old school AAA 360 games. Right? People have referred to this when it came to Space Marine 2, which was a fantastic experience. If you guys haven't had a chance to be able to play that, but that had all the bells and whistles, at least visually, of a AAA game, but it was very simplistic. It was very, very focused. It knew what it was trying to do. It had very particular features here or there, but it didn't have like a crafting system. It didn't. That was completely unnecessary for a type of game. That didn't need it.
It didn't need all that. Yes, right.
It only made exactly what was needed. And sure, it gives you the visuals of AAA, but it doesn't give you any of the other stuff of AAA, which is like the voting by committee, the game almost feeling as if it, like a robot made it, because it just doesn't flow well. Like these sort of games are hyper focused and made by people, and when you have a game like that, you typically have some good managers that are able to like make good decisions, and B, because it's limited in scope, you're not spending 7 years making the game. Doesn't matter how many people your studio has, or how few people your studio has. At the end of the day, if you don't have the correct plans or the institutional knowledge or any of this stuff, it makes it very difficult to be able to release a game like Avowed in a short period of time. So shout out to people like Obsidian, that by the end of 2025, if you look at their purchase in 2018, they would have released 7 games or 5 games in 7 years. 5 games in 7 years. That is insane output for any company, much less one owned by Microsoft. So shout out to Obsidian.
Yeah, another one that was like that gave me a similar feeling, right, is Silent Hill 2. I know that's a remake, but it is like you have these sort of like AAA visuals, but systems and mechanics are still back. They're just not trying to do too much. So when you keep the scope lower, and I know a lot of people had issues with how much interaction there was in Hellblade 2, but I find myself a huge fan of the smaller experiences that are not trying to monopolize my time, but still providing great visuals. And in the case of Space Marine 2, you had a really fun gameplay loop. I really like Avowed so far as an RPG. I don't need it to do all the things that maybe a Veilguard is trying to do, or other like The Witcher or something like that. I think Avowed knows exactly what it wants to be, and it excels as that. Oh, look at that! So you agree that the Sonic Superstars is a fantastic game, and you didn't give it credit when it first came out. That's good. It's good that you agree with that, Paris. That's great.
Picking and choosing is crazy.
But yeah, to me, and again, this is just me being old and maybe being having more disposable income, but way less time.
We call him Everborn Frivolous Spender Saga is what we call him.
Listen, the backlog bandit who buys games and doesn't play them. So what I'm saying is, things like this is an RPG, but it is not demanding 100 hours of my time, right? I love that, and I want to see more things like that. Like, you don't have to skimp on the visuals, but you also don't have to have a million fetch quests and then telling me to wait all this time and do all that. So, or side games, or you don't have to have me walking around with Eris, wasting the time and the energy of the game, messing up the momentum. Oh, sorry, that was final. Okay. Okay, you're on mute, Kay. And
you're on mute, but I hope I got it.
I'm sorry. That was last week.
I can't wait till Eris dies again. All right, go ahead.
Jesus. Okay. To rail us quickly back in, and I appreciate you talking about the RPG-ness of it, because this brought up a conversation that I really wanted to have before we get to the other thing that's also really hot button, and I want to get us out of here in a relatively decent amount of time, so we'll keep it moving. I want to just briefly chat about what we think is an RPG these days, because and we can all continue talking about how much we love this game. I love this game. You've seen gameplay footage. I've been playing many hours. I think I'm about a day and a half of time into this game. Love this game. I have some criticisms as well. I see some certain issues that other people are having, and I can speak to why I see why they're seeing that. Now, me personally, some of the criticism that I see I think is a little bit unfounded. They're complaining about the engine more than the game. Right? Why is it that I can do this in Skyrim, but I can't do this here? And I'm just like, well, you're talking about the creation engine or an engine of open world, crazy explore, do whatever you want, versus a streamlined engine for a story purpose, right? Two different things. That's why you can't grab every fruit, and that's why you can't, that's why, right? It's not the same engine. It's not a game choice. It's an engine choice, right? So there's that, right? But at the end of the day, I do think I like what they've put together here, and I feel like maybe we might be in a world where the word RPG has kind of lost its meaning for many people, right? When they say RPG, they mean something different than what I mean when I say RPG. So I kind of wanted to have that conversation, because I feel like at least those who are earnest in their critique, right, that I disagree with, I feel like that may be our discrepancy, that I define that differently than other people do. I'll start the ball off by saying that I think like an RPG as defined by 2025 should be an RPG, should be defined, and you can define it any way you specifically want, but I would say games like your Baldur's Gate would apply. I would say that the Avowed would apply. Now, again, if you look at them side by side, you wouldn't be able to say that their systems and all their requirements are one for one. There are many overlapping features, but there are also many things that one does differently than the other, right? But they can all still fit within that RPG framework. But I feel like it's difficult because in a world where RPG has, and I said this in the Discord, where RPG has become pop music, it sprinkles RPG-ness on everything else, right? I see some great folks in the chat saying, I see Karate Laundromat asking, is Spider-Man 2 an RPG? Right? Valid question. If you don't,
no, it's not a valid question. Having a skill tree does not make an RPG.
If you don't come from that lineage when RPG was defined and you really lived in that genre before it became pop music, it could be a question, right? We live in a world where graybeards aren't the only gamers out here, right? And they don't know what Neverwinter Nights is and what it looks like, right? They've never seen Evercrack. You know what I'm saying? Right? So when we talk about RPGs and what that CRPG, that OG lineage of RPG is, and giving them credit for moving that genre further, I feel like sometimes because the people we're having a conversation with may define that RPG differently, and that's why they don't see what we're talking about. Pixel, I know you. What are your thoughts? You're OG like me. How you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when the generation occurred where we started getting this mix up about what is an RPG and what isn't, right? But I know it kind of started around when some of these action games started taking on additional traits like skill building in an action game. Skills in an action game don't make it an RPG, right? I
mean, you can argue there are RPG elements inside Mortal Kombat these days. It is what it is.
There are RPG elements inside of Forza Horizon, right? I mean, it's
yes.
Like being able to add, select cars.
Did they call Forza Motorsport a car PG?
Yeah, they call it.
Yes, they did. Yes,
exactly,
they did.
Right. So, and it has a progression, it has a story, all that stuff, right? But I'm from like the gold box D&D era, right? Bard's Tale,
Indeed.
Ultima, right? Old
when you used to buy video games in a box, ladies and gentlemen, it came in a box and a bunch of floppies. It was
really
crazy.
nice instructions and stuff, right?
That's right.
But nowadays, I think the main thing that distinguishes real modern RPGs from these action games is that you can often have an impact on your world, right? There are events that will happen in an RPG that, based on your decisions, may actually physically alter something in the world, like world state, right? So if you remember, like, was it New Vegas, where you drop a nuke on the town based on the decision you made, right?
It's Fallout 3.
Okay, Fallout 3.
Fallout
okay.
3.
So, and then in that, right, once you do that, right, that town is permanently nuked, right? There's no,
yes, and it will continue to stay that way.
Right, there's no changing your world fallout of that, right? Your decision has impacted the world, right? So,
is that your minimum requirement for RPG, or is that one of them?
That's one of the big requirements, right? Because
I ask real quick because there are games that have that exact element that you wouldn't consider an RPG. But continue.
Sure. But that is
Crackdown comes to mind. But continue.
Yeah, but no. But here's the thing, right? In Crackdown, everyone who plays Crackdown is going to have that same impact to their world. Because it is an action game, right? And
it depends on which one you kill first, right? You kill one bad guy, the other bad guys get stronger.
The original one you change, like the strengths of the world change based on who you kill first.
Based on who you kill first, yes.
But at the end of the game, all of them will be killed, right? Whereas in Fallout, you didn't have to nuke that town, right? It's a real decision.
It's a choice you make. Yes. Right. I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is this was a story element, a gameplay / story element in Crackdown, and you always end up doing that thing, even if you do it in different order.
Right.
Whereas an RPG, by your definition, you don't have to do that, but you can do that, and that affects the world, and that's the definition of RPG. Right. Okay, understood.
Right. So the key thing is that's one. The second thing is character building, right? Whereas in action games, oftentimes, like people who bring up God of War as a RPG, which is freaking nonsense. All it is an action game. And what happens is you can alter the build of your character in that action game, and he'll take on these fighting traits, right? Those 3 fighting traits that he has, depending on which one you focus more on. Same thing with what's the one with the girl that makes you want to go to sleep? What's her name? the Horizon. Yeah, Horizon
from Midwest.
Same thing as that game, right? Whereas it is, no matter what you do with her character, no matter how many points you play into her character, fundamentally she is going to play exactly as she plays, because there's an action game.
It doesn't change.
Right. It doesn't fundamentally change how you approach how you play the game. It may change a little bit about your approach, but not totally. No, don't be fair. Let me finish.
You can be a rogue oriented one and put all your points in rogue, and then it minimizes the others. You can put it in a Beastmaster and it minimizes. There's a little bit of that in there, but sure,
right?
Yeah.
But then
okay.
You compare that to something like Oblivion, right? If you play Oblivion as a thief, right? Your approach to every decision in that game is different than if you play it as a warrior or if you play it as a mage, right? There's going to be access to things in that game that you do not get in those other classes, because you you've chosen an actual role in the game, and now you're approaching the world will approach you based on that role, right? You're going to be stealthier. You're not going to be as strong in a hand-to-hand combat. You're going to get access to unlocking things and being able to enter parts of the world that the warrior can do, right? I got to go straight forward because I don't have lock abilities. I don't have a stealth. I am all power. Let's go, right? So it fundamentally changes how you play the game. A lot of the action games, they don't really do that. They may dive into it a little bit, but not to that same level because it's not designed for that, right? It's still an action game. They still want you to kind of beat this mission in 1 or 2 different ways. Whereas in RPGs, they really try to make it the world where you have multiple options the way you can interact with events in the world. So that's the big thing. So those two together is what makes something like really an RPG. And then lastly, and this one is a little looser, is team dynamic, right? and building teams within RPGs. Now, mind you, I'm aware there are games where you don't have a team dynamic, right? It's just like the Souls game, right? It's literally just you, right? But that one still gives you the other things for the most part.
Yeah, true. Yeah, like I was saying, there are still some overlap in some of those systems, right? Some they don't all hit that minimum requirement, but many of them hit many of those requirements. Understood. Understood. Okay.
And I was right. It's a broad genre, right? But I mean,
yeah.
Like to me, those three things, a combination of those three things, like a 2 out of 3, will give me an RPG.
Has to be an RPG. Okay. Yeah. How about you, Lucius? How do you define an RPG, like fundamentally?
So I'll say 2 things about this. One is that we are in a space where genres are barely a thing. Especially when it comes to indies, people are mixing and matching genres as much as possible to create the next interesting idea. So we see that a lot when it comes to indies, and you're really starting to see it in AAA development as well, where people are just bringing the best parts of certain genres and bringing them in. At some point, things stopped being called Doom clones and just started being called shooters. And then at some point, games just started having shooting elements in them, but not really, people wouldn't really.
And then it went all the way around, and then now it came back to boomer shooters. So I'm just like, okay, when did that happen? All right.
but from a genre standpoint, like RPGs are RPG elements are incorporating themselves into almost every game now. Some games I don't think it's even necessary, but they do it anyway. So that's one. And the second thing that I'll say is a reference to it's a reference to a court case, and it's a Supreme Court case ruling concerning obscenity in the public square. It was essentially trying to define what porn was. And I know that we're riding the line when it comes to the pleasant conversation, but let me land the plane. The court case found it incredibly difficult to be able to determine what pornography was because of the different elements and how people approach that thing, and how people will, based off of your sentimentality, you may see certain things as more egregious than others. And
so one man's porn is one man's is another man's Friday afternoon?
No. What I'm saying is the famous quote from that case was, "I'll know it when I see it." I can't define it.
I remember that.
But I'll know it when I see it.
Right? Yeah.
And I think that I think that definition is going to be different for everybody, right? But at the end of the day, I'll know it when I see it. And if a game has RPG elements but doesn't really incorporate a lot of those things that matter to me, then hey, it's probably not an RPG inside of my eyes. And what I will say is, your definition of an RPG is going to be heavily dependent based off
when you started playing it.
Yeah, when you started playing it, but what RPGs were kind of the basis,
seminal.
The basis of your understanding of what RPGs were, because JRPGs and Western RPGs are very different, and the things that people need out of those individual genres are very different. You almost never hear somebody complain about a Japanese RPG not having choice and consequence. Like that's
hey. I did hear some complaints. I just saying. shout out to
when it comes to games like Final Fantasy VII, pretty much all the Final Fantasy games, all the like Tales games, all of these things, you don't get to decide anything. You go through a story, you move on. There's no change in how you're going to play the game versus how anybody else is going to play the game.
Like it doesn't matter whether I want to pick up flowers and slow down the game when I'm in districts.
Okay. I get you.
Right. But they have the team dynamics and they have the building, the world building, and the approach.
Lord,
they have some of the other stuff.
But
you do realize, Everborn, the way you keep acting, just like the dude who made what's his name, Pentiment. You're gonna make Squares like start hating on us because of the way you keep talking about. But
like,
stop it.
I
anyway,
so be it.
Requirement from the audience. I think the requirement from the audience is also very different because people aren't looking for choice and consequence when it comes to JRPGs, but I find that people are very specific about what they want from Western RPGs. There seems to be a lot of judgment on whether a Western product is an RPG or not, and I feel as if there isn't as much of that criticism
Double standard
on the JRPGs.
No, I think the JRPGs have stayed true to their essence and the experiment, but not as much as here, right? On the Western side, it seems like the mixing pot is very much upon us, and the Eastern does not have the same kind of paradigm. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you're right. I think the main difference is that the starting point for Western RPGs is a much more complex game style, right? Old school wise, right? Like
I think my first one was like King's Quest.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think my first one was either like the Gold Blocks D&Ds, which are actual Dungeons and Dragon roll dice games, right?
It was super complex, right? Super.
Very complex.
They didn't start shallow and then get complex. They started complex. And actually, RPGs have gotten shallower over time to compensate to get more people in the door. Yes.
Yeah. And even in that time, that game, you could get characters, not find all the characters in the world, build your character, and characters would die, and you would lose characters. So think RPG, but XCOM rules, right?
Yep. Permadeath.
Miss shots, permadeath, right? So these are complex types. And I think, my first Japanese RPG was like Ys 1 and 2, right? So like very different style RPG, right? It's still, it was more story driven action RPG style than this raw statistic based RPG strategy game, right? So they're very different starting points, and I think that's why as the years have gone on, those genres, it's easier for the Japanese to stay more true to their style of RPG because it doesn't have the additional complexity.
Because they're building complexity, whereas the Western seem to be losing layers of complexity rather than building it. Mr. Everborn Saga, your opinion, sir. Go ahead.
My first RPG was Phantasy Star on the Genesis.
It wasn't Zelda?
Which is actually
interesting. Wait. Hold on a minute. Because there's been much arguing about whether Zelda is an RPG or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of.
I was under the impression for a long time that Zelda is an RPG, but I was told that it was not by many people, and many people are just talking about it was always an action adventure game, which I disagree with. But I was told I was wrong many a times by many different people.
Yeah, I think I would define it closer to an action adventure game than an RPG.
No, and what we're talking about is not the Zelda of today. We're talking about Zelda as was defined.
Link to the past.
I thought we're not talking about Breath of the Wild, right? Because Breath of the Wild, sure, but like those other ones were very much RPGs, I thought. Right? Very, very RPG system heavy. It didn't lean so much on the discovery. It lent more on the, at least that's what I would think. But okay.
See, okay. Already in the chat.
I think there are certain things that kind of like play around between that line because as Everborn said, Phantasy Star, I think that is one of the most Western Japanese RPGs ever. Like, it always interested me how different Phantasy Star felt in comparison to many other JRPGs and how different it felt from even Western RPGs. It was its own unique thing. So your first experience was probably one of the most unique experiences that I could think of for it to be your first RPG.
Well, I mean, that's
Fuzzy Tomato in our chat
of what was on the platform on the Sega Genesis.
Fuzzy Tomato in our chat is telling us he's a youngin without telling us he's a youngin. His first RPG was Pokemon, like 98% of people. You sure about that, sir? I'm just saying.
Pokemon.
Shout out to you.
Pokemon, I think, was my second or third RPG. But yeah, I started with King's Quest.
Yeah, when the original Pokemon came out, my son was like 7. So no.
You see, it missed me. I was too old for that. Seriously.
I was way too old for that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel you. You know, shout out to the young to the young bloods in the room. It's all good. You know. But yes.
But you know what was said earlier by Pixel was like there are certain elements, and you have to have like a majority of them to sort of be considered an RPG, right? So one is the world needs to react to you. One of my things is, and this is not always true of RPGs, but it will get you a half a point if you are creating your own character. But again, there are many RPGs that do not do this, and that doesn't make them any less of an RPG. But you'll get bonus points from Everborn if there's a character creator. I think a skill tree is more for an action game than an RPG. I think an RPG you're putting points into certain attributes versus like I'll give you more points as an RPG if you're just putting points into certain things versus here's a skill tree that you unlock. Skill tree to me says action adventure game with light RPG elements. Like you're kind of like a poser if you have a skill tree. But again, it is if you only have one ending, you're not an RPG to me, right? Like
okay.
There's canon ending.
Yeah.
So just to define it, and you guys tell me if you disagree. To me, the best representation of a modern RPG, like a modern hardcore, like fundamentally adhering to that core tenet of RPG, the most modern representation of it for me, Cyberpunk. Do you disagree?
And not Baldur's Gate 3?
And not Baldur's Gate 3. I would say Cyberpunk more. That's more my genre anyway. I'm more you know,
probably not.
Baldur's Gate okay. Baldur's Gate okay. I'll give you that as well.
Closest but to the original.
Yeah, if we're talking about OG CRPGs kind of stuff.
No, I get that.
Well,
I'll give you Baldur's Gate because their aesthetic is even more an evolution of that original D&D style. I get that. But I guess what I'm saying is those systems upon systems upon systems that matter to everything. I think Cyberpunk really, really like takes that original idea and evolves it, like even outside of the fantasy genre. You know what I mean?
They do a great job of giving you character building in ways that it really impacts how you approach the game. Right?
Multiple endings, all of that.
Everything, multiple endings. Like they really do the most. Like they do all of those components very well.
That's where I was going.
It's very complex.
And an RPG should not be afraid to have the player not see content that they created if they didn't make the right decisions.
A good RPG makes sure that you don't see that content, right? But
good RPGs gate
to
content.
Be fair, but to be fair, I think like Skyrim didn't gate content, right? You could technically see everything in Skyrim. It didn't stop you from joining other factions, even if did it? Oh, maybe
No, like you could join every single faction, become essentially the lead of every single faction. You could become like the greatest.
Yeah, so they made it more casual. Because Oblivion did gate stuff off, right? If you took certain paths in Oblivion, it would gate it off, which is why Oblivion's better game. But Skyrim's the more casual version.
Skyrim's definitely the more casual game when it comes to it. It still has all the RPG elements, but it's nowhere near as deep, and that's why for people who have been fans of the Elder Scrolls series for a very long time, they complain the most about how the Elder Scrolls games are getting worse, because if you're a huge fan of Morrowind, despite all the bugs and how broken that game is and everything else, the freedom of literally being able to like create your own magic inside of the game and like to meld things together. Literally, you could from inside of the game play around with the magic system,
create your own spells,
and then those spells would interact with the game code. And then via that, you could rearrange the game code of the game by playing very particular spells like a piano. And changing the game fundamentally. The game was insane. So if you fell in love with that thing, and then you went to Oblivion, and it just had way less systems, and it didn't have the mixing of the magic and all of that, then you would be like, well, Oblivion is good, but it's nowhere near as good as Morrowind.
It's no, yeah, of course.
Skyrim,
of course.
and then when you go to Skyrim, then you're definitely gonna cry, because like I can't do anything in this in comparison.
But I guess it still feeds into that narrative that we're building, which is RPGs started really complicated, and over its life cycle,
at least Western RPGs did, yes.
At least Western, yes. And over its life cycle, it's gotten more popular. But in order to get more popular, it's also lost a lot of its crazy systems and become a lot more 4-quadrant to get there. I think.
But the thing is, the earlier RPGs, it's because they were mimicking D&D, right?
Yeah.
That's where all the complexity came from.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why Western ones started complicated, because their barometer was D&D.
Baldur's Gate so much, because it is a D&D game. Not just a name, right? It's very much D&D.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think to me, I like, not to like completely tie it to a story, but like where do you rank, like how much of an RPG is Elden Ring?
See, I would consider Elden Ring very much an RPG, but again, we had this conversation about the Venn diagram of all the things that need to come together to make it an RPG, and then they don't need to have all of them. Like, I think Elden Ring obviously is missing some of those, but the ones that it does have, it has it in such strength, right? The progression systems and all of that, and your different builds and your different endings, it does have enough to still be very much considered an RPG, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it isn't. But it's an action RPG, right? Well,
it's an action RPG. Yes, it's leaning
RPG. Yeah.
Yeah, it's leaning more into action than RPG, but it has enough of those RPG systems, and those RPG systems are beneficial and impactful enough to the game that I would still think
they make a real difference.
It's more than just LPG elements. It's actually an RPG because of it. Am I wrong?
Okay, now I don't disagree. I just want to like hear how we define it based on the descriptions we gave. Okay. Now, following the same rubric. What do you call Diablo 4?
I would also call Diablo 4 a full-on RPG, right? Again, the Venn diagram would not be one for one, but there's enough that overlap. There's enough that, and I agree that by Pixel's definition, by and large,
a looter RPG.
Right? It's like an action CRPG.
Yeah.
Right?
The official
it's ARPG, right?
Yes, I was about to say the official genre is called ARPG.
Yeah.
And it means action RPG, but not in the way that we currently mean it.
Right.
Yes, we don't mean it in the Soulsborne parlance,
or like the Final Fantasy 16 sort of like yes. What we like. ARPG was a term that was established when CRPGs were big.
Yes,
I mean, when I first played Link to the Past, I referred to it as an action RPG. But again, I was told I was wrong about that. So
yeah, but because back in those days, most RPGs were all always they were real time. They were all turn based and mainly turn down. That's top down, yes, and turn based, right? So those parlances, those have changed over time as our games needed new definitions, or so it seems, right? And I see some great beards in the chat talking about Ultima, right? So depends on when you got there. So let's reframe the conversation before I do. Let's land the plane.
Before you do, Pixel and Lucius, does this combat look uninspired to you?
No, it looks fun. Outside of the fact that Keisante is getting his butt whooped.
I don't know. It looks like he's cutting people up.
I was doing things. It took me a while. It took me a while. Like the game is not easy, man. If you're not careful, if you're not careful, you're gonna get worked.
You're gonna get that work in this game. It gives you that work. Here's another. Here's the reason why I tried to advise against the wand and then another weapon, is because both the wand and the weapon uses stamina.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, the reason why the wand and the grimoire are such a good combination is when you run out of stamina with the wand, you switch to the grimoire, and now you
switch to the grimoire and you got more.
So
yes. And I feel
just
you.
Like a constant you're constantly pushing out damage.
before we finish the conversation about Avowed, let's quickly, because I see him on the screen. Let's quickly have a quick conversation about how is it that the Living Lands? It's not the Living Lands. It's the Living Lands of bears. Lord, there are bears in this Living Land.
There's a lot of bears in the first. There's a lot of bears in the first 2 areas. After that,
so many bears.
After that, you don't really see them as much.
I don't know. The
bears and shrooms. Oh my!
There were more zombies than bears.
Yes,
in this
but you still run into a couple of them. As you get deeper into the game, you run into less and less bears. Like essentially, there's a lot in the first area. There's a couple in the second area. I think there's 1 or 2, maybe in the third area, and I've run into 1 in the fourth area.
Let's reframe this conversation, because before we move on to another topic, I want to get our final what we think of Avowed, and for that conversation, shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the one that decides to come on this show and give us his takes, and we love it. Some of y'all get all polarized about it, but y'all can continue to be in your field. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paris Lilly. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How you doing?
There it is. Now, I know you've been keeping up with the show, Harris. Thank you for joining us. The reason why I had this conversation about defining what an RPG is because I feel like, and I know there's been a lot of slander about this game. It's been a polarizing game. I see. Paris has already put his score on Front Street. He gave it a 9.5. I think that's a strong score. But I feel like the earnest critique, some of the folks that are actually critiquing the game, giving maybe less than a greatest score, I feel like they may be defining the reason for it being lower is because they define RPGs differently than we do, I think. And that's why I brought this up. So Paris, what are your thoughts on the critique? I know your score. We watched your review. You had great takes on it. I saw the kind of funny review that you guys did. What do you think of the conversations that have been sparking about Avowed, sir?
Well, I think it's probably a threefold thing when it comes to Avowed. Like I said in the review, I had a very aggressive score of 9.5, and that number came out in a vacuum because I had no idea what anybody thought of the game before I said that, right? It was my own personal enjoyment of it, knowing that this was an Obsidian RPG. So I understood their play style. I understood that this was a new universe for me, being the Pillars universe. So I took it as I'm having fun. This is a lot of fun to me. When I am not playing the game, I'm thinking about the game. I want to come back and play it again, right? Over the review period, we had 2 weeks to be able to play it. And the main attraction to me was the combat, number one. Number two was being rewarded for taking my time and exploring throughout the Living Lands, right? Through the various zones. And then third would have been actually trying out different weapon combinations, right? Respecing my points and the different, intelligence, all those things, and seeing what worked best for me. And then I would say in the last third of the game, I found the combination that worked for me. And that's what I kind of stuck with, to the end. So it was a very enjoyable RPG for me. I think, here's what I think. I think people during the review period that rushed through it didn't have the experience that I did, because I don't think this game is as enjoyable if you're just quote unquote speed running to the end, to get to it. The reward is in going off the beaten path. And when the game is not holding your hand, the things that you can find, the combat scenarios that you can get in, the weapons, the gear, all these different things, the trying out various dialogue choices that'll take you down different paths of things that I might see in the game that you might not. You know what I mean? So add all that up together, it just became, a top tier RPG for me. Should you be comparing this to Skyrim? Should you be comparing this to The Witcher 3 or something like that? No, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't think that's what Obsidian was trying to accomplish. I mean, believe it or not, the Outer Worlds actually is more comparable here. I think it is a more fleshed out version of the Outer Worlds. That's what I took from this. And that's fine, because that's in the Obsidian DNA. I've been on record many times over the years about how much of a fan I am of Obsidian games. And just how important I think they were going to be to Xbox in the acquisition that they did a few years back. And this is the first fruits of that labor. Here is a brand new original IP coming from Obsidian. What does that look like under the Xbox branch? And I think they nailed it. I think they created something memorable. Here's the best thing that they did with Avowed. We're talking about it, whether you liked it or you didn't. It's polarizing in a good way, where I understand some of the critiques of it, but I also understand people like myself that are greatly enjoying it at the same time. And my advice, like I obviously sarcastically said it earlier in the chat, you can tell who's actually played it versus who has not. My advice to anybody, it's on Game Pass, all that, give it a shot. Don't just go in for 2 hours and go, oh, this isn't for me. Maybe it's not for you and you walk away. But I think if you invest some time into this and you slow down and you understand the mechanics of this, you understand the skill tree, you understand the ability points, you understand the different weapon combinations, you explore these zones, you get rid of the fog of war on the map, so to speak, right?
Oh man, I've been spending hours clearing that map.
Yes,
hours.
And that's what I was doing when I was playing it for review. I didn't rush. Yeah. I just was like, I'm gonna take my time with this. I literally did not roll credits until the day before we actually did the review. So I felt I really got the experience. And ironically enough, I want to do a second playthrough, but now I'm playing something else that, I can't talk about yet. So I haven't gone back to it yet, but I will, because I love RPGs. I mean,
you can tell us what you're playing, Paris. Don't worry about it.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I've learned my lessons over the years.
We won't tell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure
I promise Clute's not watching.
I was about to say you won't, but Clute will. That'll be up 2 seconds later after I say the clip. Paris is playing blah blah. But just the whole point. I know you're also talking about the RPG stuff. I mean, what defines an RPG is you being able to, and not necessarily that you're creating. It's the creative character, but you're able to spec out a unique build of a character, and you're able to have various dialogue choices during the game. To me, that's what defines an RPG. I get, and I think someone said it earlier when I was watching before, that sure, you've had a lot of these action games that have adopted these skill trees and they have some dialogue choices, but for the most part, the story is linear.
RPG has become pop, right? RPG is like hip hop, right? It's become pop. It incorporates everything now at this point, so it makes it difficult. I understand that.
Yeah, it does. But no, I love the game, and I stand on my score because it's what I thought, and I think, and I've said this a million times, people put way too much stock in a number. They don't listen to what is being said, because I can tell who actually watched the review that I did and listened to the reasons why I like the game versus who just saw a number and I had a stupid video made of me earlier this week because Xbox sent me the mask. And he sold his The Rock. I sold my soul to The Rock for a mask to give it a score. When it's
that mask looks really cool, by the way. That
is
really cool.
It is, by the way. But the point on that is, it's like that's what I thought, and I'm not crazy because other people had similar scores, But again, someone that I respect. Someone that I truly respect, I consider my friend on some levels, like Skill Up. Skill Up did not like this game at all. And I respect Skill Up's opinions, and I heard what they were saying about it. And I go, I get it, but it's subjective at the same time. Because think about it. I didn't like Indiana Jones, and everybody was cooking me for that. Whereas I saw other opinions that loved it.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I get it. It's what you get out of the game versus worrying about some number or score. If it speaks to you on some level, enjoy it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do the Avowed wrap up. Let me get some super chats and some of these scores out. And I want everyone's reviews. I know, Paris, I see your review. I don't know how long we have, Paris. I would love your take on the next story as well. So let's wrap up this one.
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
We've been talking about Avowed. Excellent. So let me do some of the super chats first, because they're also Avowed related. Then I'll get the rest of the panel's scores, and then we'll move on to the next stuff here. We have Guess Who 107 with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Guess Who. He says 100% 100% indie right now before jumping into Avowed. Love, absolutely loving it. F the haters. I think I agree with that one. Shout out to you and your great game choices. I actually am doing it backwards. I'm almost going to finish Avowed, and then I'm going to do indie because I let indie jump the backlog. I have to jump back on top of it. So that's what I'm going to do there. Sith Lord, $2 super chat, the great Sith Lord. He says, blown away by Avowed. Obsidian didn't disappoint. I wholeheartedly agree on that one as well. Again, we've been having conversations about some of the righteous criticism that people have been having and whether we agree or disagree. But I think by and large, this game was very much right on the money. And then we have Pragmatic Eagle with a $2 super chat, and he says he has 5 rules of an RPG, and he wrote them in the chat. So I'll pull his 5 rules right now. His rule number 1: player control in a fictional setting. Number 2: character development where characters get stronger as you play. Number 3: combat experience affected by character attributes. Number 4: flexible inventory of weapons, armor, spells, and other tools. And number 5: an overarching quest that evolves leveling up, fighting enemies, and navigating menu systems. Sir, I think you nail it on the head. I agree with you. Paris, the reason why I brought up the RPG thing is because I too was clipped. I was on Boom Show. I was talking about how much I really loved what Avowed was doing as an RPG, but giving you such dynamism and freedom. And people were in the chat talking about, has he not played games? Yes, I understand that RPG is literally shorthand for game these days. But as a core RPG, I feel like this is a core RPG. And to give you the fundamental freedom of guns and third and first person and play well in each of those avenues so well that it changes your playstyle drastically. I think that's what Avowed does uniquely well, because people are bringing that criticism that it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't bring anything new to the genre. I feel that loadout switching and how you can still go with the flow, that may be what it brings to bear that's unique in it. What are your thoughts?
Why do you have to
Why
reinvent
does it
the
need to bring
The
new?
class
Why does it need to
system
bring
is
something
also
new
really
to the
nice.
genre?
The fact that
Sure,
you can choose
sure.
skills. The fact that you can choose skills from any of those different skill trees, and it's gonna mostly be dependent on like
No
your
gating,
levels.
no gating. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
like
Yeah.
so it's just like, I don't understand how you look at that system and think to
Yeah.
yourself, that didn't bring anything new, because what other game has something like that?
Yep. I think it's unique. I really do. Just like I will continue to be the one-man band that says Starfield's New Game Plus deserves to be applauded for years to come, but nobody will pay attention to it because of all the slander that happened. I feel the loadout switching and the dynamism and systems in this game is unique, and it also deserves that level of credit. But yes, I think that is the deal. Lucius, you were chatting, so let's get your review. Where do you fall? And I'll ask the chat as well, because I put that poll up for some time. I'll close it up after this question. Where do you fall in your Avowed score, sir?
Right now, I'm about 70 hours in. I'm probably nearing the end of the game. I've cleared out most of the area in something's Tusk. I can't remember. It starts with a G. Galloway's Tusk, I think. I think that's like the 4th area. I've very much enjoyed this game so far. I think that there are some things that obviously can be worked on to be fixed, both in this game and in a sequel, I hope. I hope this game does well enough for a sequel. And when I look at the totality of my entire experience, I give it a 9.
Hey, not too far from the great Paris Lily. Absolutely, that's great. Okay, Pixel Bit G, how about you, sir? What's your score?
I'm too early in the game to try to give it a score.
Oh, very nice, very nice,
Yeah,
very nice.
being only past the first chapter, I wouldn't try to score it, but
you wouldn't try. Okay,
it is.
Give us your overarching experience.
Well, it is definitely between an 8 and a 9 in terms of its enjoyment for me right now.
Okay, excellent. How about you, Mr. Everborn Cider?
I only got like 6 hours in this game. I can't say it's off to a great start. I love how densely packed the game is. So every direction I look, there's something to do, and I might get attacked. I might find something, and so they're very economical with the space. And that's one thing I hate, where you just got a bunch of nothingness in between things to do. I always look in a direction and I'm having fun. So like, to me, if we're just judging by the opening of the game, the first few hours, I think I'm on like level 6, or 5 or 6 I'm on. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm gonna go 8 to 8.5, but again, this is just early impressions. I love the visuals. I think the combat feels good, which was the biggest worry I had going into it, because you remember when they first showed combat, it looked a little bit like the hit connects wasn't really connecting like that. So like, and the way that the visuals have updated, because I remember we first saw it and then it looked nothing like the reveal trailer, which again, I don't think anybody's going to have that complaint for certain other games, but whatever. It's a CGI trailer. But now, as we've seen the game, you know, in the lead up to it, every time I saw it, it looked better and better. And now it feels better than I thought it would. So I'm very happy about that. My score could go up. Maybe it'll come down if the opening high doesn't last, but like, very, very good start. Hats off to it. But this is just my very early impressions after only playing like 6 hours. So take whatever I say with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah, I too obviously am very high on this game. You guys have been seeing me talk about it. I don't tend to post on social as much as I used to because of reasons. But every once in a while, when a good game comes out, I'll post about it. When I first started playing it, I posted about how I thought the game was stunning. Like, I got thousands of responses, and I think people agree. Even Xbox and a few other people also responded. Very, very cool. You see my squabbler in on the screen. If you know, you know. My squabbler is doing real big things. But yes, he's real good. But yes. But no, I love the game. I think it's fun. I too I'm at, like, right now, I'm a day and a half into the game. I think about a day and a half into the game. I'm in the second area. I too have that crazy bug that I cannot stand any part of the map to have a fog of war. So I spent so much needless time on the first map, just like clearing every part of it so you could see the entire thing, only to then go to the second area and then see that it's even bigger than the first area. I'm like, oh Lord, I got to do this again. And there are 4 areas. So yes, I love this game. It's a great game. It's super fun. I'd say right now I'm at a 8.5 towards 9. I want to see how the story ends and how they connect everything. But I'm really enjoying my time with it. I don't think I'll be finishing, like, no-lifing this game. I'll be playing it slowly for as long as it takes to get it to the end. I don't think I'll be doing that. But yeah, I'm really digging this game. So there's my score. In the chat, I put a poll up. I've had about 77 votes right now. So I'm about to hit that end of that poll. If you want to be part of it, go ahead and hit your parts into it as well. But as of right now, with 77 people having voted, I'm looking now. We got 54% of the voters saying A. We got 35% of the voting public saying B, and then 9% saying C, and 1% saying D. Now that 1%, I would love to have a conversation with you. If you are genuinely disliking the game and your pursuits are not malicious or nefarious or disingenuous, I would love to have your conversation, because I would like to know why you would not like what makes you different, what changed your mind on it, what made you feel a little different about it, right? So that'd be good to know. I hear, shout out to the brothers of Living Split Screen. I hear that one of them has not enjoyed the game as much as all of us are. Interesting conversation. Interesting to see what those perspectives are. Shout out to the great Boomstick Excel, Double Barrel Gaming. He says he rolled credits at 2 a.m. in the morning after 100+ hours, and he's still at a 9.5 out of 10. Very nice, sir. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you for being here. Always great to have the great Boom here with us. But okay, I think while the months and weeks and months move on, we will continue to talk about Avowed. But I want to switch gears, and I want to talk, because we have the brain trust here, right? Good thinkers, learned individuals. And this week, this will be our big story before we get out of here. This week we had a a big barnstorm announcement. It's been kind of, Microsoft and AI, gaming and AI, tech and AI has literally been something we've been talking about for many years now at this point. So with them, Microsoft that is, announcing Muse, their AI model, their WAM model, which is, what is it? It's a model that's supposed to not only generate game images, but also generate human actions. So not only does it show you game footage, it also gives you the ability to control said game footage. And let me put that on the screen right now, and we can have a quick chat about it. Paris, I want you to get the first bite at this apple. I'm sure you may or may not. No need to spill any teas. I know that they tend to show some of the creators in the community some things. Maybe you've seen some of this stuff that we have, or you're seeing it like we are. What are your thoughts on this stuff right off the top?
Yeah, they did brief me on this ahead of time, so I knew it was coming. And if you've noticed, not said anything, because I knew this would be extremely controversial when I saw it. We even had a Q&A in our session where we asked some of these questions, and even at Summer Game Fest last year, I got a demo of some of the stuff that they're looking to do with AI. And my stance back then was, and still is, I understand the benefits of AI and how this can help improve gaming and game development, things of that nature. But again, I'm a security guy. My number one issue is always going to be security with this stuff. My second one is people. Is you can talk about how we're not going to replace people with AI. It's inevitable that you will, though. Just is. It just is. This is corporate America. It's capitalism. It's how do we make the most revenue? How do we cut costs? You cut costs if you have AI that can do the job of 5 people with just using AI. Again, as an example, it's inevitable that this happens. So,
and real quick, let's understand and level set to the audience exactly what it is we are talking about. Shout out to 280 people on the various platforms watching. Level set exactly what we're talking about here. This is exactly like your GPTs. It's exactly like all the other things that you've seen in our AI world now, which is through prompt, right? You can generate seemingly magic, right, out of nothing, game elements, and you can play for a short amount of time. Not only can you do it through prompts, they're also talking about being able to present this AI Muse existing game footage of a game, and what they use to do it is a bleeding edge, which is always so funny how Xbox games bring about crazy innovations. HDR was another game, and now this is bleeding edge. They show Muse bleeding edge, and then they let Muse create more of bleeding edge. So after they've shown it to the clip that it's been shown, then they let Muse create further along, and it'll create more visual elements. It'll create control schemes that continue the gameplay going because it understands the fundamentals of that. So it's able to continue it on. And as you can see on the screen real quick, the reason why it's very fuzzy is right now it's rendered at very small pixels. It is like minuscule.
It's like 300 by 120 or something.
Yeah, 320 by 120. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really small.
And it started, their original attempts were even smaller. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were 100. Did they say that they got to the point where they can produce content out of nothing? I thought it was this is more 100% training model at this point.
No, they have 100% been able to produce something out of nothing. Yeah. They've even and I'll even put a bit more footage on the screen here. They've even been able to, this is a very small bit of footage, but they've been able to like create a demonstrator. They have a demonstrator UI that they've created that like this, and you can literally place elements into the world, and it interacts with the elements as you create them. Right, so they're much further along than our initial thoughts on it. So I got your initial take on it, Paris. We're gonna get down the line of the pluses and the minuses. I will ask you, Pixel, because you're talking as well. What's your original take? You are a developer by trade. What is your original thoughts on what Microsoft had to show here?
I mean, it's interesting, right? But I think Paris has he has the point of this, right? There's no reason you build this kind of technology if there's not cost benefits in the future, right? I mean, there's just no reason for you to do it, to spend all the money on R&D to do this kind of stuff. But in the interim, right, what I'm seeing is looks like it could be useful for helping developers understand how they could add certain game elements to their game, right? Because it's you feed it a frame, then you give it different prompts, and you can kind of look at what a new element would look like with a new maybe we're gonna add they showed like a boogie board, right? Being added to a scene, right? And you can see,
and as you can see them, these are all the various generated images, and the reason why they're so tiny is because they can only generate them at that small scale. It is new, early days. Pretty soon, eventually, it's seemingly going to get bigger. But that's why all of these are so tiny, because they are generated literally either prompting, meaning saying words to define what you want, and as such, it gives you what you want, seemingly, or they give you previous versions of something, and they say, "Hey, give me more of this," and then it takes what you originally fed it and continues the ball rolling. Hence, their thoughts about potentially, bringing back old games and all that. So you think this is interesting? Okay. Lucius, sir, I want to go to you next on this one. What are your thoughts?
I think that the way that this is presented to us is kind of a red herring, kind of a carrot on a stick sort of situation, where they are trying to entice us via the idea of, hey, we might be able to use this to be able to bring older games to platforms where those games either didn't exist, so that way people can play much older games on their iPhone, for example. And I think that once again is a red herring. The objective of this seems to be to scale down teams, so that way they don't need to pay as many people to be able to get out a product. But tools like this don't give me any confidence that when you decrease the amount of talented people inside of a room, that these things are going to be able to compensate for those talented people. And we already are in a situation where a lot of gamers feel as if they are playing these games that are made by committee, and this only pushes us more towards these sorts of mentalities. And I think the objective of this is just like Pixel said, it's a cost saving measure. They are trying to figure out how to be able to save money on making games, because making games can be incredibly expensive, especially on the AAA level. So I understand the motivation behind it, but I don't think it goes to the root problem, right? And I think that the root problem of development is a lot of middle managers inside of the space right now don't have the proper experience, don't have the institutional knowledge that's necessary to be able to properly lead a project to success. And a lot of the people that had that sort of institutional knowledge, the industry has pushed away from this space. A lot of people who had that ability to be able to quote unquote crack the whip and understand how to be able to play the field between the artists and the business, and know how to make kind of everybody happy while being able to still produce like a good product. Those people have left the industry, and this is not me attacking individual devs or anything like that, but it's very clear that at least when it comes to the AAA level, the big publishers, the EAs, the Ubisofts, the Microsofts, all these other people in the room, you have lost a significant amount of institutional knowledge. And when that happens, it's going to take longer and cost more to make games. And the industry has only been pushing people out more and more, which almost one-to-one shows you that like that's where the costs are going. People not knowing how to be able to properly define a project, people not knowing how to properly scope, people trying to create some sort of super game that has everything. Like these things stop people from being able to produce products in a short period of time, and I don't think necessarily that this is going to fix the iteration step that they claim, because the iteration step is all about like creating new ideas, making decisions, figuring out what your scope is going to be, and then moving forward. And if you don't have a team that properly knows how to do that, because you've pushed everyone else out, an AI is not the solution to those problems. And Microsoft and a lot of these other companies who are pushing for this are going to incorporate. There's nothing that I can say that's going to stop them, right? So they're going to incorporate these AIs. They're going to try to downsize their teams, and then those teams aren't going to have the subject matter experts necessary to be able to get past a solution in a short period of time. And now you're spending time trying to figure out one thing, when if you would have already hired that person, you wouldn't have to go towards and hunt 15 different contractors to figure out who has the knowledge about this. So that's all I'll rant about. I think that it is a solution looking for a problem, and it is not actually addressing the root problem of that we're seeing inside of the industry that's making games $300-400 million.
So okay, Everborn, I know you are chomping at the bit to jump in here. I know you have good thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts on it as well, because I want like a well-versed opinion set here on this. My first thing on this that I scratched my head was, in gaming right now, every time you look at a game, you're looking at what the developer wants you to see, and behind the game is the code that makes it work and makes it run. This is seemingly magic with nothing behind it. How does that work in the world we go to, right? So in a world where, and this is just my technical mind working, right? So we build a game for like a device like this, right? You build a game for a device like this, or a Switch or an iPad or whatever. Each device you build for, there are hardware requirements that you must meet as the game in order for it to facilitate playing said game on the screen. You see what you see as the consumer, and you never have to see behind it. But there's always things behind it, the development process behind it, that then allows that game to use the hardware as optimally as possible to show you what it wants to show you. In this instance, it's like very dubious. It's like there's nothing behind the curtain. It's the visuals and that's it. There's no technical mumbo jumbo behind the scenes making it happen, right?
If
there's
you can
code.
move, and there's still code. If there's still code,
right? But they have not shared that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not sharing they're not sharing how, right? The how. Right?
And that part is the most interesting part to me. Like, are you telling it to generate the code that then eventually becomes the game, or are you telling it to give you more of the game? They're saying, give me more of the game, and it's giving you more of the game. So then where's the code going? Can you see behind the scenes and see the code being generated in real time to facilitate that? Probably not. You can just see the game. So what's behind it?
All of these companies have been ruthlessly stealing information to be able to build their AI models. Every single company is kind of guilty of that in some capacity or the other. Some have been able to shield themselves by buying models from other people. But at the end of the day, that's still stolen information, stolen IP, X, Y, and Z. So I would imagine that if you were to get a chance to be able to look at the back end, there's a lot of stuff that might be built by other people on GameStack that is being incorporated into this model. And
so what you're saying,
the fact that you work in GameStack probably gives Microsoft access to either your code base or something like that.
So here's the thing. From the reading I've done, right? They say all they did was share with you, the public, and by the way, shout out to the great Parasol, he had to drop. Thank you so much for giving us your take, sir. They said all they did, and this is why they brought, and the gentleman on the screen being apt, this is why they brought Dom Matthews from Ninja Theory on board. They worked with the researchers in Cambridge, and at the time, Bleeding Edge was the game of choice, and this researcher asked with consent, and I actually remember this time because I remember when you loaded the game and asked you if they were allowed to use it for this purpose, and you had to say yes or no. And I'm only going based on what they've said, right? Based on all of the announcements they're presenting. They only fed this, they only trained this model on visual data by our playing and input data playing and the visual output at the same time. That's all it knows. It doesn't know code at all, like nothing. All it knows is the visual representation of the game being played and the input buttons being pressed by us at the same time while those visuals are happening. And that's all that Microsoft fed it, because that all that data came from information that came from us while playing only Bleeding Edge. And in so doing, they've been able to extrapolate that to make it do that with other genres and other games. It needed the fundamentals of Bleeding Edge to understand what a game was and what a game does and how to make one itself, right? So again, I hear you, Lucius, and it'll be an interesting conversation. And as this matures, we want to see the back end. But what I really want to know from my technical brain aspect right now, today, what you see as a game is a lot of code and technical work that manifests itself as visual elements, right? Like the visual elements are, and I'll let you go, I promise. The visual elements are a byproduct of the technical work that happens in the code, right? What they've shown this AI is just the visual elements. And in so doing, it's just reproducing more of the visual elements. I don't think there's any technical code behind it. It's just literally generating more of the visual without any of the homework.
If that's the case, right? Then if you can control the model, right, as it's running, when you move,
that's my question.
I know. Then it would only be generating another frame. So
yes,
and here's the thing, and as you say that, right, thinking about this, if NVIDIA can cheat, how many frames are they cheating in the new model? 16 out of 20 frames. Yep. Cheating, right? There's no code. They're cheating the frame.
Yeah.
If that's basically what they're doing here, then
that's this. There's no code. Yeah, this is wild, bro. There is no code.
It's kind of like the DLSS cheating the next frame. So when you move, it is automatically generating a frame in that world for the next space.
In real time, immediately. Everborn Saga, sir, I know you've been chomping at the bit, sir. What are your thoughts? I know you have thoughts. Let's go. And now he's on mute. Oh, there he is.
I mean, some of what I said has been voiced already. It's not necessarily a code thing. I think when you look at the AI video generation, right, where they can render something that looks like a real person in front of you. Maybe they might have 6 fingers or whatever, but they're just taking all of the images that they've trained on, and then they can give you a realistic looking render. And as Pixel pointed out, with fake frames,
Karate Laundromat, it is interactive because you can use a controller to move it.
Right, but if you know what the input is and it can render it fast enough, and this is why I think it's at 380p or whatever.
Yes.
So that it can render it fast enough, it can take that input and say the character should be in facing this direction in the next frame, or they should do an attack in the next frame. So it just has to generate 10 frames at a time. And again,
and the demonstrator, by the way, really shows you that when you move the controller, you see it at the bottom in real time, generating the next frame to show you what, because you said so. It's doing it in real time. It's thinking out loud while you see it. So yes, absolutely.
So if you think of something running at 60 frames a second, right, that means it's going to update 60 times every second, right? So 1/10 of a second, right, is all it does at a time, and it'll take that input so it knows what the next 10 frames need to be. Right.
And the graphics cards that they use to do this, I'm just trying to find it. I saw it in the article, maybe it's in the other one. The graphics cards they use to do this, let's just say you are not gonna buy one. and they started with
it was a 5090
graphics cards.
And
then they went up from there. Right?
Is this the one that they made? Is this the one that they? Yeah. So here's a interesting thing. If they're able to pull this off, not only is it an impact for developers, it is an impact for physical hardware.
This is what I want to know. That's why I'm running the brain trust.
Because I've been thinking about that. Like, that this means this is a direct hit against physical hardware, because there's no way you run this locally.
Yes.
But
it doesn't generate anything. It doesn't render anything. It doesn't use GPU capabilities to do anything. It just gives you the image that you asked for generated, and you're controlling it. It could give you
but the
provided
GPU is giving you that image though, right? So whatever they're gonna process
on their end,
AI
yes. On their end, yes.
But again,
presumably,
if you're gonna do this,
stream that to anything.
If you're gonna do this in the cloud or whatever, how expensive does it become, and how long before this is cost effective to do, to where you can kind of generate these things for like they're talking about 3 billion gamers or whatever, and we know getting to them is like basically going to be through the cloud at some point when internet infrastructure is up. So how long before this can generate? Because here's a big issue with AI as it exists today. It is the consistency in it, right? Every time you ask it to do something, it is gonna think at that moment and generate based on all the training it's done. It's gonna do its inference in the moment it is asked that. To make a cohesive thing, I don't know. I think you'd need like a generational leap in AI, and I just don't think that is something that is happening in the
honestly,
near
sir.
future.
This is why I wanted you to do a little bit of a download before we had this conversation. The pitfalls you're describing are exactly the first things they call out. Consistency. It's part of that. It's literally part of their book. They said it. No,
I didn't even have
consistency.
They've said they've solved it. Yes.
Sustainability, right? That's the three that they had. Yeah.
They've literally, like, you've identified the pitfalls correctly. But I guess the reason why this is worthy of a conversation is they called it out as things they've solved with this.
They've solved the consistency issue and persistency in generative AI.
Yes. If you so I reviewed that document yesterday, and they show you how it improved its consistency over the model, starting with the first iteration of 10,000 feeding it 10,000 lessons, and then moving to 100,000, and then to the state that it is today. And you see the world actually becoming more cohesive in each of the frames, right? This is what they showed, like, because like that when you currently do like Grok or whatever, right? If you say, give me Everborn Saga waving his hand, right? You get Everborn with 6 fingers, that thing, right? And their thing, they show like the world, like I think it was like a tree in the way of the motion, and it got all blurred out and crazy. But by the last time they did it, the world state was exactly persistent, like you would expect from a video game, and he was just moving through it, and it wasn't like there was nothing odd looking about it when they got to the third one. So yeah, I guess they have, but yeah, he's right. They do call it.
They're getting there.
One of the other questions I have is if we're talking about game preservation, and I do want to get to my sort of diatribe on tools that
I know you want to get there. Let's go.
Let's go. Using in a minute, but yeah, go ahead.
But if we're talking about game preservation to use this, how is this thing, like, let's say I want to go and play Phantasy Star 2, right? How is this, based on what they've explained, going to generate that game on another platform and still have all the dialogue trees and all the other things?
Let me tell you. They basically say, and this is a future look, right, based on what you read.
From start,
available right
end.
now, and to end. Yes, they say all they have to do is share with the generative AI, share with Muse a full video of the game, and it'll create a full video with that video of the game. It will create that game and use the inputs based on what it knows about game parlance, and that's the protagonist, and this is how they move. A full, you want it to, in the year 5000, you want it to play Sonic 1 like you remember it. Show it a full video of Sonic 1. It'll create Sonic 1 for you to play.
But see, my issue is that what it sounds like, it's going to try to create it the way I remember it, not the actual game. Right?
No, it'll literally show you how it's the garbage in, garbage out scenario where you have to show them a full fidelity video of this game running. right? All aspects of it. Oh, it does this, it does that. Here are the movements. Here's how. These are the game mechanics. These are the story. You have to show, right?
And
if
how does it
if I'm trying to convince?
How does it know all the dialogue options and all the different things that the game
Seemingly,
can
you'd have to show.
potentially
You'd have to show them a video of all the various variations of what the game could do, right? If it's a game that has 15 endings, you got to show them a full video of all the 15 endings, and then they'll create one with it.
And and how will it know what you need to do to unlock those things? Because that's some code that's in the background that says it's this and that. If this doesn't have that,
right? This is the crazy magic of it. Like, again,
I'm not saying it can't do it. This
is not today. They're saying this is what they're working towards.
Right.
They're working towards a world where they can take an old, like, doesn't exist IP, no code available, it's gone from the world. They feed this thing a full video of what it was, and it recreates it fully.
See, but to me, that's still an approximation of the game and not the actual game. And my concern is you're gonna get a generative AI game that looks and maybe feels like the game, but it is not the game itself, right?
True, but in the year 5000, that people can't get an OG copy of Mario Brothers 3. What does it matter?
I don't know. I don't know if I like
either that or Mario Brothers 3 is lost to the world forever. I think this is better than nothing. Am I wrong?
I think that yeah, so Karate Laundromat.
I like that.
Right?
It's a hallucination
of a game.
Isn't there a game right now that they could not do work on because they lost the code? Was it
yes,
the one they released?
What do you call it? GTA. GTA's PS2 version they have lost code. So the way that it looks on PlayStation 2, you can never recreate again because they've lost the original source code of it.
So my thing
they
is
use the mobile version to recreate it for the next gen consoles.
And this is what Roshan Eppinger is asking, if they're doing it from video or code. Now I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying and how it works around the video, but I would assume if you want an accurate representation of a game,
they should do it from the code.
Right? You're gonna look at the code and say, now we're gonna apply these same functions, or we're gonna write functions that will work with DX12 or whatever current hardware you're running this on, and it will be basically create the port. So that
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. If you want a more accurate representation, instead of showing a full video from start to finish of the game, show them like start to finish a full process page of all of the code that makes up the game.
Right.
Then
now port this code to another platform, right? That to me is and that is a thing that could happen, right? You can do a little bit of that today. But
if that's the case, if they can generate the front end without code, and we know they can generate code, couldn't they do both? Right? Because this is the technology of them generating the front end whole cloth magically, right? And we also know that once you show them code, they can give you more code as far as the AI is concerned. Could you not then create an environment where here are the visuals and here's the back-end code? Now combine them and create new versions of it, or
absolutely. I'm just saying,
and then it'll give you code as well as
for you to do it. And by this token, since this is generative video, you could be like, hey, let's do this game, but why don't you go ahead and update those graphics?
Yeah,
right?
give it make it look like if it was running on a 5090. Go
right. 16:9. Let's do cell shaded. Let's do hand drawn.
Didn't they have that demonstration with Forza Horizon 2, where they took this was part of the initial intro of DX12U. They had a video of them upscaling that game from like 500p to a native 1080p, 1080 visual, right? That's part of their DX12 upscaling technology. So it is built for them to do that as well. Right?
Upscaling is one thing. What I'm talking about,
I know what you're talking about. It's about expanding it to the next level, right? So like doesn't
Savagery in
art
the chat.
style,
Savagery in
right?
the chat. Oh boy.
there's an AI. I
Like
think
what if you
NVIDIA
said
has
here,
that now?
here's the Streets of Rage 2 code
Mhm,
and
mhm.
video so you can train it. Now I want you to take that code, but I want you to draw it like Streets of Rage 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Right.
Or see the evolution of Streets of Rage 1, 2, 3. You see all of that? Here's all the code, here's all the video. Now make me 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, where it swaps
Evolving.
out texture, it basically updates the textures, right? There is a tool that does that right now too. So my point is, that is doable.
These all sound like jobs. These all sound like
This is
people
where I
who
wanted
have
to
jobs.
go.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Because you
And
just
this
said
is
make
where
a
I wanted to
5,
bring
6,
Lucius.
and then it's like, oh,
This
let's
is where I
remake this
wanted to
game.
bring Lucius in.
This all
100%.
sounds like everyone
is-
losing their jobs.
We are at 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I wanted to bring Lucius in. Thank you, Lucius. This is exactly it. Let me do this quick super chat real quick. I see a super chat from the great Hollywood Rules with a file super chat. He says, "Shout out Great Beards, great show. Special shout out to my Brooklyn cousin Pixel G. I use a TurboGrafx. I use TurboGrafx tiers to make my coffee. Love y'all, bro. That's great. That's good. Great. Well done,
Yeah,
sir. Well done.
all
I
right.
appreciate that. And then, real quick, A Bunk Pie in the chat asks, "Is Xbox Muse finally going to make the Xbox app for PC experience on par with Steam quickly?"
No,
That would be a good use of AI.
right? That would make.
I think Everborn Saga likes that question. I think Everborn Saga likes that question. But let's transition our final 15-20 minutes to what Lucius was bringing up here, which is all of this cool, interesting tech is leading down the path of no return, which is game makers. You might no longer be as useful or as needed as you used to be, because now all of a sudden you're training your replacements piece by piece, right? Lucius, speak to the fears among the public about this. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's incredibly obvious because it's all about incentive structure, right? The incentive structure for these companies is always going to be towards making profit. And right now, they all have an incentive structure to decrease their workforce no matter what. Even if everyone's doing incredibly well, even though that they're making record profits, even though it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Even in a success story like Marvel Rivals that broke through the black hole game, like Magnificent Seven, X, Y, and Z, like it was able to pierce through that veil and make a space for itself, and is making an incredible amount of money for the developers that made it, for the publishers that published the game, and for Disney. It's making money for everyone, and yet they still decided to fire people who helped fundamentally make that game exactly what it is. Not because that those people didn't do their jobs, but because they did their jobs and now they believe that those people aren't useful anymore. If you're willing to throw people away, even in that good of a situation, I don't trust any of these publishers' incentive structures to use these tools as a way to be able to make games better, to get games out faster, to do all that. Their primary objective is to replace me and you, and so that way they can no longer need to do anything. They could just continue to create slop based off of a copy of a copy of a copy. And at some point, the people who are engaging with that sort of stuff will know nothing better, because the age of like owning your games and all of that stuff would have been far beyond what we're talking about. And that person will have only been used to AI games. So they won't know about the handcrafted nature of a game like Avowed, where everywhere you turn, you are rewarded for a box, and for looking and looking around, and it feels rewarding every single time. I think that for people like us who've had those previous experiences, we're going to play those games and we're going to say, well, this doesn't, come even close to the sort of experiences that I want. And that'll be fine for people like us. But just like Kay Asante says all the time, we are the horseshoe makers, right? And if the kids of the future start getting used to this AI slop and that's all they know and that's the primary engagement base, then it doesn't matter if there's high quality experiences out there when it's being drowned out by slop and the people who are engaging in it have no idea.
Quick divergence. Real quick, Lucius. I apologize. I have to shout out it's amazing to have him here. David from Dimension 11 Studios. This is and he's in the chat right now, a Nigerian-based studio working on Legends of Osha. Been chatting with him. Wanted to when my African brother makes a great looking game, I gotta reach out and give support and tell him how much I love it. And they're in the chat right now. Salute to you. Hopefully we have something to show at some point soon, sir. Thank you for checking out the content, and hopefully we'll have you on at some point soon. If you haven't checked it out, ladies and gentlemen, check out Legends of Osha, Blood and Water. It's all over your Twitters. Google it, put it in there. Some interesting things coming from my side of the world. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very proud. Thank you so much for checking us out. This is awesome. Lucius, I apologize. Please continue.
But yeah, I'm just, once again, I'm looking at the incentive structures of the company. I'm looking at what's happening around us inside of the industry. I'm looking at what's going on inside of the economy. And as nice as these tools are, they are simply the Trojan horse to make us all into serfs. So
the Trojan horse to universal basic income is what you're saying.
It's I don't know. Like I can't particularly dictate what's going to happen in the future. I don't know. But this is just me looking at what's happening right now and seeing that the tools that they are creating doesn't fix the actual problems that they're having. And so because of that, when I see that that square isn't being circled, I think, why else is this being made? Oh, it's a cost-cutting measure. And if it's a cost-cutting measure, where does that go? Based off of how these companies are operating, based off of the past, based off of what this tool is trying to achieve, what's going to happen? And hey, and it's unfortunate because, just like you say, Kay Asante, we are a dying breed of people who have these very single player experiences as kind of our focus. Fortnite has had a death grip on the entire industry. And so what happens when Epic incorporates this thing into their essentially Fortnite engine, where they can start creating experiences inside of Fortnite, which makes it even
generated out of whole cloth.
And now it makes it even more difficult for people to even escape the Fortnite black hole, which is the biggest of all the black hole games. So that's how I don't necessarily see this. I don't see the usefulness of the tool for small and medium-sized developers being worth the repercussions of the large companies, which are the ones that are advocating for it the most. What happens when they have it inside of their hands? And that's about that.
Everborn, I want you to retort or agree as you see fit. Let me catch up on a couple quick super chats and I'll let you do that. We have Mr. BLTS with a $5 super chat. He says, just got the Shure SM7B XLR mic and I need an audio interface to connect to the PC. Not sure if you guys could recommend anything, maybe an Elgato XLR. Shout out to you. Appreciate you for being here. That's what Everborn Saga uses.
I have
the Elgato Wave. Yep. I use an SSL external interface. That's the solid state logic external interface, and it has 4 XLR inputs. Gives me a lot of good, interesting controls, and I combine that with, funny enough, based on the topic, AI software that does a lot of removing of voice and noises in the background and things like that. So yeah, shout out to you. Holler at us in the DMs. We're always ready to help. If you want, I'll give you my pointers. I'll give you my links to where I got my stuff. It's all good. So thank you so much for checking out the content. Appreciate you. We got Hollywood Rules of the $5 super chat. He says, serious note, thank Kay and Pixel for helping me on my Virgin ROG Ally X journey. Thanks, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you, bro. Anytime. Like, hey, calm down there, right? But no, always here to help. It's good.
Hit me in the DM.
That's right. That's right. He follows up with another $2 super chat and says, gonna need emulation help on ROG soon, guys. Bro, we got your back. We'll get it done. You know, I've been thinking I want to do some tutorial videos. Maybe to do some like, you know, how to get the best out of your emulation out of your device. And then, of course, I think about it, and then I think twice because
you got to join the Discord.
Nintendo ninjas, man. The Nintendo
joining
ninjas.
the Discord is always going to be the best way.
You know what I'm saying? Join the
Hollywood. That's right. That's right. Yeah, check out our Discord. We talk about all that stuff. We have different channels for all that stuff. Always great to help the community. We appreciate you. And Mr. BLTS also follows up with a $5 super chat. He says he agrees with Lucius. He says, I'm getting my second and third degrees with one in-game design, and AI is what worries me the most. Absolutely, right? In a world where you're inspired, you know, you want to be a gamer, you want to be a game developer, you want to be whatever in industry you want to be, like you're so inspired to jump into. AI is disrupting it to such a degree that is just like ridiculous, man. Like it is scary times. It's scary times. But Everborn Saga, sir, what are your thoughts? I know you have, as a business owner, as a person who has been bullish on the advent of AI and some of those tools that assist creatives, being a creative yourself as well. What are your thoughts?
So here's the thing. My main point of contention or disagreement is when we say we don't think the boon to smaller independent creators is worth whatever will happen to the big mega corporos, because at the end of the day what we're saying is we'd rather them keep more people employed in effectively indentured servitude to people who they're just paying salaries while the company keeps all the profits of their work. I am more on the side of any tool that allows a smaller independent team to do more, punch above their weight, and create things that otherwise would have taken many millions of dollars and buy-in from certain gatekeepers in the industry. I'm in favor of saying that that is a good thing. And I would also say that if this leads to the big mega publishers that we know publishing slop, then they will fall by the wayside and they will deserve it. And what we will see happen is what we see today, because as we speak right now, it is the year of our Lord 2025, and we are on February 22nd. There have been over 2,000 games released on Steam, right? Many of those are probably not good, right? But some of them are from independent creators, and the tools and the distribution channels that exist today so that I, as a creator, or you, Lucius, as a creator, or you, Pixel, or UK, can have an idea, and you may not be the greatest coder in the world. You may not be the greatest art designer in the world, but if there's a tool that will let your creative vision let you be able to do that without having to go to some overlord who is going to tell you, no, why don't you change this and why don't you change that? If you bring costs down, you will see more creativity. And the reason we don't get the creativity today is because things cost so much. And when there is that much money on the line, people have to file down the edges of things, and they're less likely to try new and risky things. Because the thing is, when you try something new, it may fail. But when you can't afford that, that's when you get design by committee. And I think one of the things that like we all instinctively understand in this industry is that costs are too high. And one of, not the only, but one of the primary drivers in costs is that it takes so many people to do a lot of menial tasks. I'm not talking about
the SMEs. I'm not talking about the shared industry knowledge. Those people should be cherished and treated well and do their own thing. But at the end of the day, there are too many people employed that it takes to do these things, and it sucks that people would have to lose their jobs. But if we're gonna say, and I know you're not saying this, right? But I'm making a general statement in terms of tools that make things easier, that allow smaller teams to do bigger things. If we're going to say we shouldn't do that because it's going to lead to layoffs, then we're really just advocating for games to continue to be expensive and continue to take more people to do things. And I would also argue that so many tools have come out. Unity and Unreal have come so far, and they're doing a lot of things in terms of AI and generation and textures and things like that. And they've made it easier for smaller teams to do bigger things. And that has not really led to them hiring less people. They've in fact overhired. And that is part of the reason where we're seeing a lot of these layoffs. And so to me, I really have no concern for whether $1 billion publisher or multi-million-dollar publisher, if they want to make AI slop, then you know who will come to create experience that people actually want to play? The humans, the individuals who maybe got laid off as a result of this, can now start their own team because there's tools out there that allow them to do these things. So maybe they are a level designer, but they don't know how to code, and so they use a tool that will help them with that. Or maybe they know how to code, but they can't draw to save their life, like me. And if there's a tool that can help with that, then I'm all for it. But I believe that this sort of parallel economy of independent developers will pick up the slack and make the things. And if tools allow them to make things that are what we would consider AAA today, maybe tomorrow that takes a very small team of 15 people, right? Look at Lost Soul Aside. I'm not saying that's a AAA game, but that started with one developer, and then Sony picked it up and helped them with a lot of things, right?
Listen
to me,
Kelso's statement here. That's an interesting future he's talking. He's
right.
A very interesting picture he's painting. Brian Kelso in the chat says, making a video game will be like having a YouTube channel in the near future.
Right, but that doesn't mean you're going to be Marquise Brownlee or Mr. Beast.
No,
right?
true.
So
true, absolutely not.
And this is one. I'll say this because I know I'm on a little bit of a rant. The thing about AI generated gaming or whatever, making a game does not, I don't care how much money you spent on it. I don't care the fact that it actually controls like a game and you can press start and move a joystick and a character moves around. If it is not fun, people will not play it. See Concord.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Or Redfall. You pick your poison.
Well,
right?
I
so
guess
nothing is going to guarantee
fundamentally
that
though
to play a game.
Fundamentally, I think the fear that people are expressing is when there is excitement and there is a vision behind making this be as good as human intervention, right? The fear is the more money you put into it, the more attention you're putting into it, better it's getting, and they're afraid of the future, not today. Right? Everybody, and I hear you. Everybody always says today, "Hey, man, there's just no way that this thing will replace humans because look at what it does today, and it's trash here and it's trash there, and it requires a deft hand to make it use. It's a tool like anybody else." And I agree with you on that, right? I feel like this is a very nuanced conversation because there is no one right way, right? By and large, I tend to be the technologist in the room wherever I go, but I'm among a lot of technologists today, right? So you guys feel the way I do in that we love technology. We want to move the ball forward. But I do also understand, I do want to spend, even if it's a moment of time, and pause and recognize that, yes, we are moving the ball forward, but in so doing, you will displace a lot of people in so doing. And history shows that this happens time and time and time again as technology moves forward. I will talk to you about when the car showed up and everybody was using horse and buggy. It is what it is, right? Not everybody else became a mechanic.
But to your point, Sante, the era of the horse was hundreds of years. The
Yes.
era of gas cars was about
Mhm.
80 years.
Yes, almost 100 years about, yeah.
But now,
Mhm.
if we're talking about how these technologies, how quickly things are moving, since the .com era, things have moved so quickly.
It's about
and
40
have
years,
iterated
30,
so
40
much
years. Yeah, yeah.
that AI is only going to hyper accelerate that. So real human beings are not going to be able to keep up. You're not going to have a situation where you, all right, well, I got to learn how to code now and jump into a new industry. No. You're not going to have time for that. By the time that you learn the basics of whatever the hell you're trying to do, AI
already knows
gotten,
it. Yes,
yes.
yes. The moment you write the document, and you feed it into this knowledge base, it has it. Just like the Matrix, if you learn, you press a button, I have it now, and now you're moving forward. So if you can't learn like they can learn, you're screwed.
And that's the problem. It's not about technology is scary, because we're all technologists inside of this room. It's about the rate in which that technology is growing and how impossible it's going to be for normal human beings to be able to keep up with it.
But, and I think we'll close it out with this. But
tell your kids to go into the trades, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
that's right.
I moved from development to sales last year, specifically because.
No, there you go. Right. But at the end of the day, we are still technologists here, and we are still gamers here, and we still really love to see them use these tools so that small creators can create things bigger than themselves.
That's my guiding principle in all this.
Yes,
right.
You would still be super happy. You'd be super happy to see Everborn Saga come out with what would be a AAA rendition of what would be the Everborn Saga, like shooting way above his means, because these tools allow for that. Right. It's just one of those things where I do think that it is something that we're going to continue to have to keep an eye on and conversate and stay posted and communicate with our community about as these things mature, because it is a very fine line. It really is. I will not believe that the world is coming to an end because AI is coming to take over everything. But I also don't believe it's hogwash to be afraid of it either. It's somewhere in the middle. Even anecdotally in my space, I have been letting people go because I can do things with AI that I used to pay people to do. It's just a fact of life. It's a fact of it, right? So we can't close our ears off to any sides of this equation. So I do believe that, yes, 100%, it will displace people, but we still need to move the ball forward. And this is just watching as it displaces, and how much of an impact will it have to society? That is the big question that I don't know any of us can really answer today. But okay, before we get out of here real quick, Mr. BLTS with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much for being here and being very supportive today. He's saying real quick, ROGLI 2 2025, 2026.
Can I take this one?
You go for it, sir.
I think you will see something from Asus this year. I don't know if it will be an Ally 2, but it'll be something from Asus. And we'll leave it there.
Moving swiftly along. I think that's the end of this conversation. And you, for those who know, we'll move quickly. This is a conversation we'll be having again, I'm pretty sure, because they showed a teeny tiny speck of it and people made a big hay about it. Now you can kind of see it and people make a big deal out of it. Next time they show it to you, it'll be in 720p. I bet. That's when they show it to you. They'll show it to you again and it'll be in 720p. And people will be like, oh my God. And then the next time it'll be in 4K. I guarantee it. And that is the fear that people are having right now, that when it's in 1080p or even when it's 720p, people don't go, isn't this good enough? And then start firing everybody. Who knows? That's the scary world we live in today. But I think we will leave it there. Lucius, I will start with you, sir. Thank you so much for being here as usual. You pull up, you lend your voice to these conversations. A lot of people agree with your takes. I do too, by and large, because whether we agree or we disagree, I think that's the fundamental basis of it, is that we are earnest in our pursuits and in our thoughts, and I think no one can accuse you of otherwise. Tell the people where they can follow more of your musings on the internet.
Yeah, don't look for me. Don't follow me anywhere. I have multiple social medias, but I will not tell you where it is because I don't want you to interact with me. However,
the answer is Discord.
Find me on Discord. I will be in the GCP Discord. I'll be having these sort of conversations all the time. And I will end all of this by saying we are in an era of minimal viable product. I have never seen companies be willing to give you less than nothing than I have now. And I'm just going to say, fight for what's yours. Right?
Oh, boy.
They are not going to give you anything. I'm not trying to Luigi Mangione anything. Like, relax, let's calm down.
Okay.
I'm not trying to Luigi Mangione. I'm simply saying that, like, this new era of corporate power is going to be astonishing, and you will have to fight for everything that you have right now. So just be ready for that. And AI is only one part of that pie. So, just be ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And real quick, I will co-sign once again. Join the Discord. I have empowered Lucius to be he is the godlike in the Discord. He has all omnipotent power. He's always in there, always keeping things above board. So jump on the Discord and let's have continuous chats. Mr. Everborn Saga, you going to say, sir?
No. Lucius is right. There is a tidal wave coming, and you could stand at the shoreline, or you could,
get a boat,
get a surfboard, right?
Get a boat, get a surfboard. That's right. That's right. Indeed.
But you are correct. I just think my philosophy is once you understand where the wave is going, you either ride it or you drown, right? So my I don't think anything Lucius said is wrong. My next thing is, well, all right,
you just see it as an opportunity instead of fear.
Right. Yeah. Right. Let's find the opportunity in this, and what can it do for people? And again, I'm always a big proponent of perhaps we shouldn't be working for these big corporations, and we should be making our own things, and any avenues, tools, and distribution platforms that allow us to do that are by and large good things.
Mr. Pixelbit G, sir, it is always awesome to have you on our air, always giving us the great takes, stuff for no fools. Where can people keep up with all your stuff, sir?
Very rarely any place else now. I mean, I'm mostly on the Discord now. I rarely get people to smoke on Twitter anymore because I just don't have any time. But every now and again, you may see me take his mighty's head off, right? Because people need to be beheaded more times than not. It's hard to follow up the sermonizing from Lucius and Everborn here, but they are 100% correct. Got to build your own things, folks. It is what it is, and take advantage of what you can while you can. Key time, right? While you can. So, pleasure as always, man. It's glad I had time for this. This was really a good conversation about gaming and technology. So beautiful. Keep doing your thing, y'all.
Thank you. Always great when you're here. You always lend a great voice to the proceedings. And whenever you want to be back, you know where to find us, bro. It's always great to have you here. Mr. Everborn Saga, sir, I am now showcasing the Everborn Saga. By the way, theeverbornsaga.com, the place where you can find yourself 15% off of all merchandise, whether it be clothing or books or the like, by using the GCP code, sir. Where else can people keep up with your ongoings this week and all the weeks on our fair internet, sir?
I recently deleted Twitter from not my account. I'm not like one of those like weirdos or whatever, but like I deleted Twitter from my phone, so like I can only go on when I have time to check on the web. So I'm not really on there posting anymore. At least for the time being. I needed a detox. So the only way you're getting in contact with me is here on Saturdays, 10 a.m. EST, on Discord, the website or Discord. That is it. If you want to get a hold of me, those are the places to find me. Everbornsaga.com, the GCP Discord, and this show every weekend.
Excellent. And I know we're still chatting in the background. And by the way, I
wait,
just need to make
on.
sure.
One thing.
Victor Alistine asks, are we going to have VG Fight School? I talk to VG Fight School every now and again in DMs. I would love to have him on. I've already asked him. He's a very busy guy. So community, if you want to harass him for me, tell him we have some good fun conversations here.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get him on. But like, if you're not subscribed to that channel, VG Fight Schools, he's great. He's a teacher in real life. So when he sees these sort of arguments online, he tries to explain it like you got to explain to junior high school kids, which is basically the talent level of a lot of the people in the timeline. So it works. But yeah, VG Fight School, check out his channel. It's great. He does I don't know how he does it, 3-4 videos a day, just breaking things down, tries to bring a data, look at it from a data perspective. But yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it would be great if we could get him on. So reach out to him, guys. But he knows we want him on here.
Excellent. So as for me, as you know, actually, I will be later on today, I will be on Xbox Era. I will be on the Xbox Era podcast with the great folks there, Jesse and the rest of the folks there. So you can catch up more great conversations with me and the rest of the team there. So that's today. I before we get out of here, I want to thank all the great people that are in the chat that always join us, that always are taking part in our discussions, people that watch passively or watch actively and take part. You have no idea how much we appreciate you. You guys keep the show going. You keep us going. We're still running with almost 300 people watching as the proceedings go, and you have no idea how much we appreciate you. Thank you guys for continuing to hit the like button, for leaving comments, both good and bad. If you have good criticism for the show, please leave them. I read every single one. We take them in. We optimize and update the show. For my members, great members, thank you so much for your continued support. The members, the super chats, you guys assist us in all the crazy things we're trying to do this year, last year, and moving forward. I will tell you now, I've been talking to Everborn Saga. We talk about GDC. We're talking about the June showcases. I'm talking about anything and everywhere that you think would be awesome to have GCP represent. We are talking about it, and all of the super chats and the memberships and all of that will help facilitate getting us there. We don't like to ask for funds here, right? We put on the show because we love to, and we're doing this because of the love of it, and we'll spend whatever we spend in order to get there and put on a good show for you. But anyway, you see fit that you want to assist us and you are helping us, we sincerely appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all your help. As for me, Pixel, Lucius, Everborn, and the great Paris Lily, who always lends his voice whenever he has a chance to. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I think that's it, Everborn. Unless there's anything else, I think we can go ahead and adjourn. What do you think?
Yeah, just everybody go. If you're not a member of the Discord, I don't know what's wrong with you, but we basically do GCP for 8 hours a day during the week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So come through and we have some fun conversations.
Yes, some days I'm heading to work. I turn on my phone. I go on the Discord and no one's talking. I'm like, what happened? Usually it's full. We're at least 15, 20 people deep most days. But yes, awesome place to communicate. We have great conversations. Come check us out. But that's it for this week. I suspect on Monday, myself and Mr. Wolf will be doing the Gamers Playground. We'll have some news and some announcements there as well. I think we're going to be doing some changing of formats there. But see y'all Monday. But until next week, it's been great. Until next time, peace.
Thanks for being on it.